Wow, what a first inning this has been.
Start of that game was he was off in all areas, and he hasn't pitched in a while, but the timing, velo, shapes, all of it. He was able to settle in and punch out 7 after that, but the first 6 got on, and it was tough for him to put anybody away in that first.
Yeah, that's kind of been the theme of the season for Matthew Liberatore.
How do you feel, by the way, man? You have, skyrocketed Joe Adell's career. You have helped Joe Adell's career.
Only for 3 days.
Well, that's fine, but you know what? For 3 days, man, you have made this guy feel wonderful.
3 days close to the deadline, by the way.
Congrats to you, man. You've made somebody feel great.
The problem is now, if you tried to bet on it today, it wouldn't cash for you.
You don't win money.
No chance.
You got to listen to the BKO the day it strikes. That's where you win.
Audio courtesy of the Angels TV network. Cardinals lose once again last night. It's not looking good for them. They lose this one 5-1, and it was over basically as soon as it began. Matthew Liberatore with another bad inning, and Alex, that's been the theme for him, especially over his last 12 starts. In his last 12 starts, he's allowed at least 3 runs in one individual inning in 7 of those 12. He allowed 4 in the 5th inning against the Athletics, 4 in the 5th inning against the Pirates, 3 in the 1st inning against the Brewers, 3 in the 3rd inning against the Reds, 6 in the 2nd inning against Kansas City Royals, and here's where it gets really bad, 6 in the 4th inning against the Diamondbacks, and 5 yesterday in the 1st inning against the Angels. So 3 of his most recent outings, he's had an inning in which he blows up for 5 or 6 runs. That loses you a game. There's no coming back from it. He just implodes, and it's over as quickly as he went out to the mound. And, Alex, this is why, there was a stretch there where I was like, oh, you know what? He might be able to be your Brandon Pfaadt. The problem is he's 2026 Brandon Pfaadt. Brandon Pfaadt stinks now.
You're right about the Brandon Pfaadt comp,
He's terrible.
Good job, man.
I was hoping for the Brandon Pfaadt that got the Diamondbacks to the World Series.
To be fair, he wasn't good in the regular season that year either.
That's true.
Oh, no, I'm not going to live on that hope.
There is some swing and miss here with Libby, but it's so bad when he doesn't get the swing and miss that it's borderline unusable. He has been a below replacement level pitcher this season, Alex. By wins above replacement, he has been worth negative 0.4 wins. Do you know how hard it is to pitch 100 innings over the course of a season and to be a negative asset for your team?
Well, Eric Fetty did it last year, didn't he?
Yes, and it's damn near impossible to accomplish. There have been 7 pitchers that have thrown as many innings as Matthew Liberatore over the past calendar year and have been worth negative wins above replacement. Among those 7, 3 have pitched for the Cardinals. Fetty, Michaelis, and Matthew Liberatore.
So good vibes is what I'm hearing from the pitching staff right now.
It's over, man. It's over.
So
Things are going poorly.
So then my gift that I sent you guys last night holds true. I sent the Kramer gift from Seinfeld that said, I'm out. Now, that had a double meaning. I mean, 1, the Cardinals, I'm out, and 2, I'm going to bed, which I did.
Good call.
Thank you for doing that in the first inning, Matthew Liberatore. But I just, it feels like I'm living in the past because what I'm watching with Matthew Liberatore is what we did with Eric Fetty last year.
Correct.
And no coincidence, it took all the way up until that first pitch back after the All-Star break for the Cardinals to be like, all right, cool, we're going to move on, we're going to trade him, we're going to put somebody in his place. And I'm living it again. Like Matthew Liberatore, 5.18 ERA in, what is this, 20 starts? Is that right?
Yeah.
And you got a 5.1 or 5.2 ERA for Eric Fetty in 20 starts.
True?
Yeah. I'm reliving Eric Fetty all over again.
Oh, my God.
And the problem is, for the longest time, the Cardinals were in a playoff spot
smokes.
with Eric Fetty. Holy smokes. I haven't heard that one in a while, man. That's a good one.
I can't believe how close it is. It's almost a mirror image of Eric Fetty.
They were in a wild card, fighting for a playoff spot last year, and they kept going to Fetty when you saw somebody in the minors that could be doing better, and they said, nope, we're going to try and get some value out of Fetty. We're going to keep throwing him out there. And we just kept saying, why don't you put somebody better in that spot? I'm reliving it with Matthew Liberatore. Matthew Liberatore is a bullpen arm. We learned that. Maybe. I mean, we at least saw that to where it looked good for you in high leverage throughout a season.
He was a positive WAR that year.
Yeah. So, I don't understand why we're reliving this again to where it's like, guys, Quinn Matthews is pitching well. Give him the spot and stop doing this with Matthew Liberatore. So that's what I felt last night and why I said I'm going to go watch something else.
You know, I like the whip stat, right? Walks and hits per innings pitched. good one is like 1. A bad one is anything above like 1.4-ish.
Oh, this has got to be like sitting at 3.
For Matthew Liberatore, it's 1.515.
Close to
Eric Fetty with the Cardinals last year, 1.505. It's slightly worse for Matthew Liberatore this year. Libby this season has allowed 57 earned runs in 99 innings. Eric Fetty last year with the Cardinals allowed 59 earned runs in 101 innings. Yeah. They are the Spider-Man meme with one another. Now, Libby gets a little more strikeouts. Fetty allowed a few more hits.
I don't care, man. The result is the same every time.
That's the thing. Ultimately, they go about it slightly differently, but they get to the same results in one way or another.
Swing and miss isn't sexy if you're down 5-0 in the first inning.
Yeah.
Like, it's not fun. So that's... It felt like I'm just reliving the past from the Cardinals, so where your playoff chances continue to dwindle. And it's not just because of Matthew Liberatore. Your bullpen is shot. Your offense has gone absent. But we've done this enough to where it's like, why is Liberatore starting again? Oh, because they're trying to get more out of it. And there's just nothing there.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree with you. Like, I don't know if Quinn Matthews is now the name, but honestly, I was here about 4 or 5 starts ago where it was, let's just go with Dobbins. Yeah. Right? I get it, right? I watch Dobbins pitch and I go, meh.
PK was there with Moss.
I mean, he gets out, right? I mean, I look at Liberatore, he's throwing BP in the first inning.
And at least we know there's some untapped potential with Dobbins. I don't know what it's going to be long term. It might be every bit as bad as what it's been with Matthew Liberatore. But I've seen a calendar year of Matthew Liberatore in this role, and it's been among the 10 worst starters in Major League Baseball. Maybe the same will be true for Dobbins. I'd like to find out.
Agreed.
Maybe the same thing will be true for Quinn Matthews. I'd like to find out.
Agreed.
At least it's different. And I know it's not always about change for change's sake. I don't know how you guys feel. I feel like this year it's been good that the Cardinals made change for change's sake. Yeah. It's given other guys opportunities. And isn't that what this season was supposed to be all about?
And it's been a fun season because of it.
And it's not feeling very fun right now. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not having a ton of fun watching these games.
I enjoyed not having to stay up till midnight watching it. That was fun.
I saw somebody on Twitter yesterday said this, and it's so true. This season was ultimately about finding answers. Not all of those answers are going to be good answers. Mm-hmm. You've had a good answer on Jordan Walker. You've had a good answer so far this season on Alec Burleson. Really good answer on J.J. Weatherholt. Got some bad answers, it appears, on Victor Scott and Nolan Gorman. Got a bad answer, it appears, with Matthew Liberatore as well. But you have an answer. You now know he's probably not a long-term starter for you. That's not the role for him. I'm intrigued by what we've seen from Kyle Leahy. He might be able to be a long-term starter for you. Maybe there is a little bit more there than with Andre Palante than what I expected. Hey, Michael McGreevy, I know there are some flashing red lights about, hey, there's some regression coming. I don't know, man. Looks like a good starter to me. Maybe it's not this good. Sub-3 ERA. I wouldn't bet on that. I think he can be a really solid middle to back end of the rotation starter for you, though, for the long haul. And that's ultimately what 2026 was for.
Yeah, and I think what you mentioned there about the Gorman and Scott answers, they reacted to him, right? And they were willing to say, you know what, this isn't it. Let's try something else. Does Blaze Jordan, can he play third base? The model says probably not. But you know what? He gets up here and you see it and you go, okay, he's fine at third base. Now it's just a matter of can he hit when he's up here at the major league level.
And that is still undecided.
Yeah. Nathan Church, this guy can play center field. Can he hit here at the major league level? We don't know, but it's been better than Victor Scott. Why would you not have tried it with Hunter Dobbs? And their retort would have been, well, what would we do if we lost a starting pitcher? I don't know, the thing 29 other teams do when something happens. They figure it out.
And also, didn't you spend the entire offseason fixing the depth, going out there and bringing in? I know guys have been injured, but like you spent all offseason going for that depth. That maybe it hurts you for the now, but long term, you're in a better spot because of it. I don't know why you keep sticking with it when you finally have the answers. Like, to me, and I know somebody would say, well, he's still young. Man, at some point, it's the same answer that I had with Jordan Kyrou. It's like, I've seen enough of it to know where this is headed. And with Matthew Liberatore, I saw when it looked great. He was a bullpen arm. He was a high-leverage guy. He was somebody that used that swing and miss stuff. We saw it last year. He fizzled out towards the end of the season, and I said, let's see what it looks like. At the beginning of this year, it didn't look the greatest. So I feel like you had a full season of an answer now to say Matthew Liberatore is somebody who can be swing and miss. He can be really good for you in pinch situations, not to be a starter.
I would say this. I think there's a chance at some point in his career that Matthew Liberatore becomes a solid starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. That time is not right now. Maybe it's 3 years from now, 4 years from now, 5 years from now. It's possible he has a late career resurgence similar to Seth Lugo. He may go to the bullpen and for somebody else becomes a good starting pitcher when he's 32 or 33. That's entirely possible. He has the arsenal to do it. But right now, he's not capable of it. I don't know why. I can't explain it. Part of it is his fastball is just not good enough. It gets crushed every time he goes out there. It's a terrible pitch for him, and I'm not sure there's anything you can do to fix it right now. Maybe he can later on. Maybe there's some shaping that he can go to an off-season spot and they can figure out, okay, this is what we can do to manipulate the ball a little better when you're throwing your four-seam. Maybe there's more of a leaning on his sinker. I don't know. I'm not smart enough when it comes to pitching to understand that. That's their job. They can figure that out. But we have now seen it for, 18 months of Matthew Liberatore as a starting pitcher in Major League Baseball, and right now, that ain't it. It's not working for him, and it's time to turn the page, in my opinion. And you do have alternatives now. You've got Hunter Dobbins, who's going to start later on this evening. We'll talk about that later on. You've got Quinn Matthews, who appears to be ready to go at the big league level. It is time to turn the page, just as it was at this time last year, to turn the page from Eric Fedde. Speaking of last year, boy, does this feel similar. I know we talked about this yesterday with Derek Gould. They got swept coming out of the break last year on the road at Arizona. And then they lost 2 out of 3 on the road at Colorado. If that Colorado series isn't symbolic of what this LA Angels series has been, I don't know what is, man. Because when you saw them lose against that Colorado team, it was like, oh, okay, yeah. Even I couldn't deny that's a seller.
Yep.
And as they're losing right now to the LA Angels, who are just a dreadful baseball team, I can't deny it. This looks like a seller to me.
Yep. Mine was the White Sox series a few years ago, to where it was like after, and it was early on in the season where
that was when I was in the hospital with Luka.
You were trying to sell to me that it's going to be fine. And I'm like, it's not. You don't lose to the White Sox and tell me that you're a contender. Yep. I think T-Bone used this yesterday in the office, or maybe you said it on the air. Don't pee on me and tell me it's raining. I just saw you go up against one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball, and you choked in it. So I don't know how I can look at you at anything other than, yeah, you're going to have to sell off assets and welcome to the rebuild. That was the whole point.
Spin rate. If you guys want to hear the positive from this.
There's no positive in this, man. You just
We're looking at the Cardinals model?
At least it's happening now.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to happening 3 weeks from now. You know, like if this was always inevitable, and my guess is it probably was, you just didn't have the pitching, then it happening 2 weeks prior to the trade deadline at least gives them the necessary information to not bet on a house that's on a poor foundation, right? Like maybe all along they were building a house on sand and it was always going to shift and it was always going to crumble. And you might have waited, and then you buy a little bit at the trade deadline, similar to, I don't know, what was that, 2 years ago when they went and got Fedde and Pham, and that clearly was a house that was not built on solid ground. And they found that out like literally a week after the trade deadline.
And they put Sean Armstrong and Pham on waivers.
And this year, at least they're not going to make that same kind of a mistake. I think this has shown evidence as to why Chaim Bloom will operate the way that he almost certainly will when we get to the trade deadline this year. Yeah. And even for me, who's been saying all along, if you're in a playoff spot, you can't sell. You can sell. This team ain't making the playoffs, man.
Welcome.
It stinks. It's a bummer. But it's been a good year. They've had some really solid returns.
It still doesn't mean...
And now you get whatever the best assets are that you can at the trade deadline.
And it still doesn't mean you can't enjoy the rest of the season with Jordan Walker being an MVP candidate. It still doesn't mean you can't enjoy Weatherholt, who's probably going to win the Rookie of the Year. Like and I do take comfort in having some answers on the negative side. Like, finally, I hope the Cardinals see that Nolan Gorman's not it. Maybe they finally see that Matthew Liberatore is not it, and you can turn the page to go to... That was the whole point of the first year of a refresh or rebuild or whatever they call it. There is a lot of comfort in knowing that those answers have been made as well.
He's Alex Ferrario. That's Tanner Hendrickson. I'm Brandon Kiley. The Blues made some big news yesterday announcing that they're going to partner with the NHL for their new broadcast on the TV side of things this year. We'll talk to Steve Chapman about that coming up at 11:30. Chris Kerber, the voice of the Blues, will join us at 12:30. So if you're curious about the new TV situation, we've got you covered as much as we possibly can, at least, here on BK and Ferrario. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. show. You can also check us out, as always, at youtube.com/101ESPNSTL. Coming up next, it sure seems as though we're about to see a changing of the guard when it comes to the Cardinals' young pitching. What is that going to look like? We'll talk about it next here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. So the Cardinals made the announcement earlier today. Scott Blewett, that's enough of you.
Oh,
Appreciate you coming in and mop-up duty yesterday, but that's going to be it. He has been DFA'd, as expected. Hunter Dobbins will make the start for the Cardinals this afternoon. Alex, I'm not, I guess, hugely surprised that Dobbins is the one that gets this start. I was hoping that it would be Quinn Matthews, but I suppose from a roster perspective, it makes a lot of sense. I would also add this. I thought it was noteworthy that Bryson Mott's entered the game yesterday in relief.
You were on Bryson Mott's watch, aren't you?
Well, I just
appearance I get an alert on BK's phone. Bryson Motts is coming in.
When you're right.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was noteworthy that he entered the game in relief yesterday, as he has now for the last couple of appearances at the AAA level since they've made the changes to their rotation.
The tone down.
I think it's okay.
I think they're telling you with their actions he's a reliever, which is fine. Makes sense. By the way, yesterday he was pretty darn good coming in relief. He had 4 strikeouts in 2 innings, allowed 3 hits, and no earned runs. Now in 2 outings as a reliever, he has gone 4 innings and has yet to allow an earned run. And also, noteworthy because he had issues with walks, has not walked a batter in his last 2 outings either. So I think what you'll see, Alex, if I had to predict, I think today you'll see Dobbins. Tomorrow he will be optioned down to AAA, and you will probably see Bryson Motts added to this bullpen. That's my guess on the way they'll go about it. And then the next time they need a 6th man in the rotation, which I believe is next week in Chicago, if they choose to keep themselves on a 6-man rotation, they probably call up Quinn Matthews at that point, an option or DFA somebody else from the bullpen.
And you would imagine that if Quinn Matthews is good in that sense, he stays in the rotation because the trade deadline is a couple of days later.
They would have that option. They could either keep him here if they plan to trade somebody or option him down, and then Hunter Dobbins would be ready to go for the next turn in that rotation.
Now, Bryson Mott's going into the bullpen, does that lessen the opportunity of Liberatore going to the bullpen the rest of this season?
Maybe. I'm not sure, though, because you could trade one of Brule or JoJo.
Can't trade
and
Brule.
Then you just, I think he might have some value. Not a lot. Like you get a lottery ticket prospect for him, but you just trade one of those guys, and then Liberatore goes into that role.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know you're disappointed that the Bryson Mott's path went this way. I understand it.
I'm not disappointed. I'm disappointed that it took them this long to come to this conclusion that I think they probably should have had 3 weeks ago, and it would have solved a lot of their problems in the bullpen had they done that.
And probably would have saved them a couple of wins, kind of in the same line of
would have given them a better chance against Milwaukee.
Exactly.
It's the same conversation as the Eric Fetty and Matthew Liberatore comp, where it's maybe you left a couple of wins up there that you could have pulled back in your direction. I do think, though, to what we just talked about in that last segment of how it feels more and more likely this team is going to be a seller, this is the start of more of the rebuild, if that makes sense. Like, this is the start of where you're going to start seeing these guys get the chance, where you're going to start weeding out some of these pieces that, okay, we've gotten our answers on now, to where now you bring up Bryson Motts and see what that bullpen looks like, and it gives you hope of what next year can be if he's good in that role. You see Quinn Matthews. You've already seen Hunter Dobbins. Like, this is that wave. Baez is going to be another one that comes up. Maybe Bernal gets it at some point. This is that next wave of the 2027 Cardinals that you're going to see play for 2026. And frankly, as disappointing as it is for how excited the season was, there is some refreshing feeling of getting to see these pieces that we've heard so much about now come to the major league level.
Yeah, like I'm glad they finally made their decision on Motts and have shifted towards, okay, he's a bullpen arm, because now that he's on the 40-man, you almost have to be able to get something out of him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
especially given the way their 40-man is constructed.
Exactly. And the fact that, okay, look, it's okay to admit Sanger's going to just pass this guy by now that he's at AAA. Same with Mason Molina. Looks like he's passed him on the depth chart in terms of how they view him as a starter. Matthews is getting close. I don't have a big issue with the way they're handling the 6th starter today. If they want to go Dobbins and then want to go with Matthews later on down the road here, I'm totally fine with that. It's whatever. It's not.
It honestly makes more sense potentially if they're keeping Motts around after tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm okay with that one. But Motts, it's okay. It's clear this guy was getting leaped on the depth chart. How do we get value out of him? And the answer was, let's see if we can make him our next high-leverage left-handed reliever potentially in the years to come, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be this year, the moment he gets up here as a bullpen arm out of that left side. He may have to shift into that if you trade JoJo and Brule. But I like the way that they're now handling this, because I understood your gripes about it in the past of, man, they just really set themselves up poorly for that Milwaukee series. And that's the one that we really circled, because that's when they really needed those touches, or the touches they would talk about with him down in the minor leagues. That's where they really needed it earlier this year.
I would also add, like, why wasn't he up before? I mean, JoJo goes down over the All-Star break. You could use an extra reliever over the past 4 days.
Yeah.
They set themselves up to not have that guy. Like, why was Blewett here instead of Bryson Motts?
It's a fair question.
He was here for 4 days and didn't get an opportunity because they didn't trust him. Clearly, he was here to be DFA'd. They wanted him to go into a mop-up duty situation so that way they could then send him out for Hunter Dobbins.
Right.
Well, you had that roster spot available for you. I think they've gone about this in ways where they're too afraid in some scenarios, and it's potentially cost them. Like, I don't know that it cost them a game necessarily, but it might have, where they were potentially going to other guys in spots that Bryson Motts could have gone in there for a lefty lane. I think yesterday, Ollie Marmol was talking about this on KMOX, where there was a lefty lane that showed up in that Diamondback series that would have been a JoJo spot. And they had to go to a righty reliever. I want to say it was Graceffo, if I'm not mistaken, in that spot to get big outs, and it didn't work out for them.
I think it was they had to go Soriano earlier than they would like.
Maybe that's what it was.
And then it snowballed to where, I think we said in the text chain, I think it was that Sunday game that they blew, where it was the 8th inning comes up and you're bringing out Graceffo. All right, so a guy that's been in mop-up duty all year, whose underlying numbers say, yeah, this is not something that's going to sustain his sub-3 ERA.
That's what it was.
That's your high leverage situation, guys. You turn to Graceffo, and that was all from the snowball effect that they didn't have a true lefty to take a left-handed lane.
And what if instead they are able to go to Bryson Motts on that Sunday when George Soriano went out there and he gets the lefty lane? We don't know how it would have went. It could have gone poorly. But if it had gone well, you go to George Soriano in the next inning, and now instead of Graceffo blowing up, you potentially are able to win that game. And that's where it really hurts you, that you did not have that guy from that side available, and instead you had Blewett from the right side, who was never going to get those opportunities over Stanek, Soriano, Graceffo, Gastelum, anybody. So they put themselves, in my opinion, in a tougher spot than what they needed to, because of the way that they handled this Bryson Mott situation. And that's been the case for weeks now, not just over this past week. But I think there are multiple times when you could have argued in favor of him over the guys that they ultimately chose. All right, alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll get into questions and answers. But next, Steve Chapman's going to join us here on the show to discuss what the Blues know right now, what they can tell fans about their TV situation for 2026, how you will be able to access said TV options, and what the product's ultimately going to look like. We'll talk to Steve Chapman about that next here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here, the Sports Center update brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. Cardinals follow the Angels last night 5-1. They tried to avoid the sweep later on this afternoon. 3:07 will be first pitch. Hunter Dobbins has been recalled by the Cardinals, and he will get today's start. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. You'll be saying, I love my windows.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK, hoping to be joined shortly by Steve Chapman, the Blues Executive Vice President. Going to join us to discuss the Blues TV plans for the upcoming season. As they announced yesterday, they're going to be produced by the NHL. That's basically all the information we got from the press release, Alex, but we'll ask Steve Chapman for any further updates as he has them. Alex, yesterday it was announced that Jason Robertson signed with the Stars. He's going to get a one-year deal worth $12 million, and then he's going to be a UFA after the season. Mm-hmm. That is the way that things currently stand. What was your immediate reaction to this?
That he's going to be a Dallas Star long term, and the Stars are just kicking the can down the road for one more year.
Interesting.
I mean, this was the whole thing. I thought, why were we making a bigger deal of this with Jason Robertson all along? Because they had the money to just sign him to a one-year deal.
It was just going to cost them other guys. Maverick Bourque had to go elsewhere.
You had to move on from it, but they basically had to weigh, do we want to keep the younger guy? Because it was also the Stankoven where they traded him to Rantanen because they wanted to get the upgrade. Or do we stick with the guy who we know can give us 40-plus win or 40-plus goals a year? And they obviously stick with the guy who could score goals. Look, I like Maverick Bourque. I think he's going to be a good player. I think at best that guy's a second-line center. And if I'm the Dallas Stars, I don't need a second-line center. I don't need a second-line center who's making second-line center money, who's probably a third-line center on my team, because I've got Wyatt Johnston and I've got Rope Hintz. I'm good. And after this year, their cap crunch is not there anymore.
It was just this year.
It was just this year. Tyler Seguin comes off. Matt Duchene comes off. He becomes a modified trade, so you can move off of that one. Like, they have 41.
It's the Seguin money they need.
Yeah, they have $41 million in cap space next year, and they've got 21 guys under contract. So, like, they can get Jason Robertson done. Now, the real tough part with this, though, for Dallas is, as much as he loves Dallas and playing, now you got the idea of going to be an unrestricted free agent and everybody wanting me and everybody upping the price. So now it gets more expensive for Dallas to keep him.
He could get 18.
Oh, yeah.
If he gets to free agency, like true unrestricted free agency, there's nothing attached to him. Nobody has to trade any assets to acquire his rights. You just get to go out there and it's just cash that you're spending to bring in a legitimate 40-goal scorer.
Yep.
If he puts together another big-time season like that this year in Dallas, and there's no reason to believe that he won't, barring any kind of an injury or whatnot, he could get a huge payday, and he gets to determine where he goes. Yep. It doesn't have to be from Seattle. It could be from anybody that's got the money to be able to make it work. And, Alex, this is a throwback. We don't see players like this hit free agency any longer.
Yeah.
Recently, these are the highest-paid free agents in the last 4 years. Rasmus Anderson, 7 years, $59 million. Nikolai Ehlers, good player, 6 years, $51 million.
Yeah, but never
really good second liner.
Yeah, has never been a 40-goal scorer.
Elias Lindholm, 7 years, $54 million. Ryan Graves at 6 years, $27 million was the highest paid player in 2023.
I remember I wanted that guy.
And before that, it was Johnny Gaudreau. And that was a legit, top line, big time player that made it to free agency. Basically, since that offseason, the NHL changed. Everything about the landscape has changed because that signing of Johnny Gaudreau going to Columbus was what initiated the beginning of the Matthew Tkachuk stuff.
Yep.
Tkachuk left. That became pre-agency where guys ask out a year, 2, 3 maybe before they hit free agency. Because before then, you got Dougie Hamilton, 7-63, Alex Pietrangelo, 7-61, Artemi Panarin at 7-81, and John Tavares at 7-77. Those are legit big-time level free agents.
Yeah.
You haven't seen it ever since. Jason Robertson might be the next.
Yeah, and part of me wants this side of hockey to come back to where these guys become free agents because, as a kid, you're growing up and you see the big names like Keith Kachuk and Brett Hall and all the names that go be free agents. You like the idea of your team having a chance. And the league, like you just pointed out, it's now guys have to be traded and you don't have a chance to get that player to come to your market unless you're trading for him. So I'll be fascinated to see, because all of this work by Dallas, they move on from Bork, they sign Jason Robertson. It's still not a long-term deal. There's a realistic shot that Jason Robertson just walks and Dallas loses Stankoven, Bork, and Jason Robertson. And now you see the dynamic shift in the Central Division.
The other thing, maybe they just give Jason Robertson $18 million.
I don't think he's going to free agency. I think he's just re-signing with the Stars in the offseason. Like, I think this is more of a fun conversation now, just like it was a fun conversation a couple weeks ago about what are they going to do. This guy turned down a high paycheck to Seattle. He turned down, reportedly, a high paycheck here from the St. Louis Blues, it seems like, if you want to believe that report. And he turned down somewhere else, I believe, as well. Like, this guy just wants to be in Dallas. Like, I don't get a sense that this guy's actually going to the market. This is more of a fun free agency conversation, because it's like, wow, this could be the first one we've seen in a long time. This dude's staying put.
Maybe. His brother plays for Pittsburgh now, and I heard that Pittsburgh was a spot he'd be interested in. It'd be something I'd wonder.
The other thing is, it's Dallas's decision.
Yeah. Dallas decides if they
want to give him the money that he's likely to get elsewhere. This offseason, the answer was pretty clearly no. They wanted, it seems like, to keep him under Mikko Rantanen. Yeah. I think part of this is, hey, $12 million we view as kind of a cap. Now, whether we think that that's the right way to go about it or not doesn't much matter. If they view it that way internally, that's the way they're operating. And if they say, hey, we're not giving you more than 12, and he's able to get, let's call it 18 somewhere else, that's $6 million a year, man. That's a 50% raise to go to another spot. If it is Pittsburgh or somebody that he's willing to go to, it's entirely possible he says, you know what, forget it. That's something that I can't really pass up.
And that's the part, like, I understand what you're saying, T-Bone. Like, we really don't need to do these dramatics again. He's just going to stay. I don't know that to be true, because I think Jim Nill is a very smart general manager, just like Doug Armstrong is. I think he has a value for players in saying, look, if we give you $18 million, our team, yes, we have cap space, our team gets a lot more difficult to manage because everybody wants more money, and it's hard to put a competitive roster out there. They're understanding now the importance of depth in the playoffs, that you can't live off of 2 or 3 players. So I don't know that they give him $18 million. I think they probably look at it and say, you score 40 goals again, yeah, maybe we go above Rantanen, but we're not going out there and giving you 15, 16 mil, where there are some crazy teams that will just do it and say, we want the star player.
Here's a question for you. Do you think they signed this deal to trade him?
Very possible, because he has no trade protection. And if you're Dallas, you saw what Carolina did, and Carolina got the better deal on that side of the trade, in my opinion.
I wonder what Seattle would give up, knowing that it's for 1 year.
What does Seattle have that Dallas would want?
Seattle could make much sense.
I don't think they'd want Shane Wright. I think if you're trading Robertson, you want another goal scorer, and I don't think they have one.
I think there's one place that could potentially do it.
St. Louis.
No. Although that would be interesting.
That was fun, T-Bone.
They couldn't do it for a 1 year rental. They're not in that spot.
We'll give him Pavel Buchnevich, man. I heard it's great.
I wonder if there is a deal to be made with Detroit, where Detroit gives up Larkin and DeBrincat, and Dallas sends back in return Jason Robertson and Thomas Harley.
I don't think they would trade Harley unless they're getting back another defenseman, because Harley is their centerpiece on defense, he and Heiskanen. I wonder if they do it just for Larkin.
The reason that I would potentially do this, if I'm Detroit, I don't know that makes sense. If I'm just getting Robertson for Larkin. But if I'm Detroit and I'm able to get a defenseman plus Jason Robertson, and they're both in my timeline that I'm kind of looking for now, and DeBrincat, there's been some rumors of him potentially being on the outs. This would make sense for Dallas, because I get a goal scorer back in DeBrincat who can effectively replace some of what I'm losing with Jason Robertson, and I get a center that long-term can be paired with Wyatt Johnston, and those guys just become what I'm building around for the next, 5 years.
And the hard part with that, too, is Detroit doesn't have a general manager, and so, until you get that, you're not going to get that done. I do think you're onto something there, because, if I'm Dallas and I'm in a playoff spot, if I can go out there and get the return like Carolina got, where I get Logan Stankoven, who's a young, cheap player who can come in and be a second-line player for me, it would make sense. The tough part is now with Jason Robertson and no Bork and no Stankoven, your depth is really shot. You're relying on Tyler Seguin, who's 34, and Matt Duchene, who's 35, to stay healthy. You don't have a real shot to win a Stanley Cup unless you have depth. So if you can pull off a move to get 2 players for Jason Robertson, 2 forwards that come in that are young and cost controlled that you think there's upside with, I think it's a really smart deal if you can pull that off.
And neither of them have no trade protection. That's the other thing here is
Correct.
There's no way for, at this point at least, on a 1-year deal, Jason Robertson to block a deal anywhere, and there's no way for Harley to block a deal anywhere either.
But there's also no incentive for the other team to trade for Jason Robertson unless I know a contract is going to be there
or
with
if you
it.
want to win. If you believe you can win this year, and maybe if you're Detroit, you say, you know what, we're going to bring you in. We're going to show you. This is the old Cardinals thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to show you what it's like to play in Detroit in front of this fan base, and we believe we're going to do a decent amount of winning because we've got you, we've got Harley. We think our defensive core is going to be good enough to be able to prop us up now because we've got Harley to go along with, the 3 or 4 other really good defensemen they've got there. And maybe they just believe that's going to be enough for them to win. Maybe that's
Wouldn't you
wrong.
need Larkin for that? Wouldn't you need almost Larkin for that to win in Detroit?
Yeah. Possibly.
Because then, then it might be one of the
center.
classic, let's do this both ways, right? Hey,
Totally.
Larkin, look at what we just brought in. Hey, Robert, boy, don't you love Detroit when we're winning?
You probably can't get Robertson without.
That's the thing. I just think it's
the team that needs to do this is Chicago. Chicago has a ton of young assets.
What do they have to give?
Well, they've
that
got
would help Dallas now because Dallas doesn't want to go into we get future assets.
Help now probably isn't there unless you're giving up like an Anton Frendel or a Frank Nazar. They've got guys that could come in. They're not going to produce like Jason Robertson, but I think if you're Jim Nill, it's we're going to take a step back to take a step forward, kind of like what Carolina did with Stankoven. They're the one, though, that has the cap space to make it work and needs a goal-scoring winger on the other side. I don't know what they would give up that would make Dallas say, yeah, sure. But if I'm Dallas and I know I'm going to lose him and he's just going to walk, or I don't want to pay him $18 million, if I can get 2 top prospects to put into my system and say we can convert you into a winning player and keep a somewhat competitive roster, it's probably the most desirable team that would be out there to make a trade.
2 other teams that I would throw into this mix is potentially getting highly aggressive for a deal like this. There's a third, but I'll put them into the honorable mention category. Buffalo. They seem to want to do something aggressive. I don't know what it is exactly, but they seem to want to do something aggressive. Ottawa, I'm not sure that their offseason is quite done yet, and it's possible maybe they say, you know what, we've got to get over the top.
Yep.
And even if it's 1 year with Jason Robertson, that's worth it for us, and then we'll figure it out as we go along here. And then the other third team, you can never write this team completely off as Carolina. I don't know what they're going to do. They have a decent amount of cap space right now at about $10 million. So if they wanted to get kind of frisky here, they could do something here. Maybe they trade Logan Stankoven back to Dallas,
or they trade
and
Seth
get
Jarvis.
Jason Robertson.
They say we got Seth Jarvis. He's a friendly deal. Dallas would say that's intriguing for us because he's a goal scorer, and we need a guy who can put up 40+ goals.
Would you trade for Jason Robertson if you were the Blues?
No,
I agree.
Nope.
I don't think there's a deal there that could potentially
I don't think this team will work with a guy who's making $18 million.
I'm saying on the 1 year deal.
Oh, on the 1 year deal? No, not if he's not going to be in that spot. No, you're not in a winning window right now.
Yeah.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Hopefully we're able to locate Steve Chapman at some point later on today. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. Questions and answers coming up next. Lineup is out.
Lineup
Cardinals
game.
first pitch today at 3:05 against the LA Angels alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK. Questions and answers here in just a moment. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Batting leadoff and playing second base, is J.J. Weatherholt.
All right, good start.
Batting second, and your designated hitter, Ivan Herrera.
God, the
going up
guy
against the
literally
lefty.
does not get a day off.
That's correct.
Sorry.
Right fielder Jordan Walker is batting third. First baseman Alec Burleson, who's been better, by the way, lately against lefties, is playing first and batting cleanup. Nelson Velasquez is in left today, batting fifth. Mason Wynn is batting sixth. Jose Fermin in center field today. Get another righty bat out there. He is batting seventh. Blaze Jordan at third. And then Pedro Paez is batting ninth and playing behind the plate. Hunter Dobbins on the mound today.
So I got an outfield of Velasquez and Fermin and left and center. Mm-hmm. Oh, baby.
Righty bats.
Oh, baby.
And then
this is going to be the one that they win.
Coming off the bench.
This is going to be the one they win, by the way.
I don't know, man.
I'm just going to go out on a limb and say this will be the one that they win, which makes absolutely zero sense.
It's hard to get swept, and it's really hard to get swept by the Angels.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you do,
Have the Angels completed? I got to look this up. The Angels probably haven't swept anybody all year, right?
My guess is they have, but it's probably been a minute.
Take a gander.
Let's see
a gander.
Here.
Man, holy smokes and take a gander today, guys. This has been a really good show.
I think, yeah, they did. May 22nd through the 24th. So it's been a while, but they did sweep the Texas Rangers this year.
This has been a great show. Take a gander.
I believe that is the only series that they have swept so far this year. It is.
That makes sense. Because I think that year, like when you mentioned the White Sox one, I think they only won like 3 season series all year. That was one of them, was against us. Same with last year's Rockies. Rockies were like one of the worst teams in baseball. I think they won like 3 series all year, and one of them was against us.
Somebody said, what the hell are we doing with Jimmy Crooks? I don't know, man. They're going against the lefty today, so today I can explain it. I thought yesterday would have been a great day for him.
Does Jimmy Crooks make you feel like you want to see more of him?
He's slugging really well this month. Now, it's based upon like 2 hits.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Because he's had almost no playing time, but this month his numbers are among the best on the team. Understandable that it's a slow. No, for sure, but it's a small sample size either way. So I don't know. My honest to God answer, Alex, I don't know.
I just don't feel
I don't know what to do with it.
I just don't feel like when we've seen Jimmy Crooks that it's been like, oh my God, you got to get more of this guy.
Agreed. Do you feel like it has been for Pajes?
No, versus Pajes, I totally understand that. Like, what are we doing here?
Have you felt like you've seen a whole lot offensively from Ivan Herrera lately?
Well, no, but it's still Ivan Herrera, and obviously they value having him in the lineup, even if he's not hitting. Well, yeah,
or give him an off day occasionally.
I don't understand the Pajes.
I think there's some criticism that can be fair with the way that they've handled Jimmy Crooks since he's come up.
Well, and the tough part is if you're going to run this, these catchers are paired with specific pitchers compared to if you just did it on legitimate schedule. Like you just say, hey, Herrera catches 1 out of every 3 days. It doesn't matter who the pitcher is. Well, then you run into kind of traps like this where this, in theory, is a Jimmy Crooks day. But if you are going to play the whole platoon matchup thing, then yeah, okay, well, now you got to skip Jimmy Crooks and go to Pedro Pajes. Like, this would be one of those where I would just say, yeah, throw Crooks out there. I know it's left on left, but I mean, come on. Really, at some point you got to find out.
The problem is you just don't have any other options beyond Pedro Pajes.
I'd like to bring Bernal up, but that's just me.
I'd be fine with it.
So in their last 17 games, how many times do you think Jimmy Crooks has started?
17 games. All right, so
less than 5, so I'll say 4.
There's at least, 6 starts for Herrera in there. So that's 11 games. I'll say 6.
4.
Oh.
Alex nailed it. Now, only 8 of those games have come against right-handed pitchers. So they've gone up against a ton of lefties over the last couple of weeks, and that is doing a lot of the work here because you're not going to probably throw him out there against a left-handed starter. But in those 8 games against righties, he's only started half of the time.
Yep.
So it's...
At this point, just as like T-Bone said, I'd just put him against a lefty and say, figure it out, kid. You want to be a major leaguer, you gotta hit. I
think that's fair. All right, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers from the 314. Guys, what's the most intriguing storyline locally or nationally for the upcoming college football season? I'll go national. I think Texas is the most intriguing storyline this year. Arch Manning, all of the hype around him. They had a great transfer portal. I would say for me, they're the number one intrigue. But beyond that, what's Indiana going to be? A year after having a historically great season for that specific program, Fernando Mendoza is now gone. They've still got some stud talent, man. They've got like 2 first-round wide receivers that remain on that roster. I'm really curious to see what they look like. So those would be my top 2.
Yeah, my local would be Austin Simmons. I'm very curious to see if Drink finally found a quarterback. And national, mine would be Lane Kiffin with LSU.
Oh, that's a good one.
I want to see what that looks like, and that ish show that was last year with Ole Miss to this with LSU.
Yeah, my national kind of ties into both of yours. Mine is this year that we finally see the SEC win a national championship, right? All the talk of we're the best league in the land, and yet the Big Ten's just won 3 straight national championships, and the SEC is trying to sell this whole, well, look at the rest of our conference when that's not what they used to sell. Locally, I think it's what these kind of refreshes feel like for both Mizzou and Illinois. You know, I can't help but wonder if I've seen the best of Illinois football under Brett Bielema. He had a terrible transfer portal. I think they were the only Power 4 team not to recruit someone from another Power 4 school during the transfer portal. So what do they look like? And then along with Missouri, I mean, they lost a ton of talent on the defensive side of the ball. Sure, they've got 2 great running backs. Still got a major question mark at quarterback. What does Simmons look like? Is he going to be the guy?
Got shot.
Yeah. One of those running backs
Like
got
a
shot.
jerk, T-Bone.
And the defense. I mean, like I said, we talked about the other day. Can he really go 11 for 11 on the defensive side of the ball? No, probably not. But what's it going to take for him to hit on most of those pieces to make it look like it did last year?
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. That's the other local storyline that I throw into the mix. Like, what does Ahmad Hardy look like? I was reading a piece yesterday. He's a top 5 running back in the upcoming NFL draft, according to most evaluators. Can he get back to that? I believe he was that prior to getting shot and missing a decent amount of the offseason by doing his rehab stint. Is he going to look like the same guy that he did a year ago, or does he take a step back? I don't know, but I think that's one of the big storylines as well. All right, from the 573, which catcher on the Cardinals do you think would bring back the best return in a trade other than Rainiel Rodriguez?
Herrera.
I think so.
I think it's the bat. I think the bat would, even though he's positionless, and I think the bat is still something that people would value, and the age and the years of control.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And he's proven it at the major league level.
Right.
Yeah, I would say it's Herrera, not so much because he's a true catcher. I don't think other teams would view him that way. It's just hey, that guy can hit. We'll figure out where we're going to play him.
From the 314, guys, can you give me a reason not to check out on the Cardinals right now? It's hard to watch a team every night with this bullpen being as bad as it is.
I mean, my reason would be Walker and Weatherholt.
Yeah.
Watching Walker do what he's done this season, and Weatherholt being a rookie of the year, probably favorite.
Mine would be there's nothing else on.
Well, yeah.
Fair.
You're watching the future of the organization. Walker, Weatherholt, Burleson, Herrera potentially. And then on the pitching side of things, I think you will see Dobbins, Quinn Matthews, Bryson Motts. You're still watching Michael McGreevy. So I think there's reason to tune in. But if you don't want to, like if you're a Cardinals fan that tunes in because they're good and because there's a chance for them to do something meaningful, I think this is around the time where you start to turn your attention to football.
Yeah.
I hate saying that. I will continue to watch because it's, a local storyline. But yeah, I get it if people are turning the page now, especially as we get beyond the trade deadline.
Yeah, because it can be tough to kind of watch for the future, because don't they kind of give off a little bit of Angels vibe of past right now, where it is Walker, Weatherholt do something really good, Burley does something really good tonight, and then you look up and go, oh, we lost 6-2. Oh, wow. Okay.
If we're being real, that's probably the best case scenario for a team that's not in a winning window
100%.
Is core players play well, other players that aren't going to be a part of the future kind of stink it up, and you lose the game 5-4.
Yeah.
Because then you get a better draft pick out of it. You want to win some of these games, and you will, but it allows for the best of both worlds.
Losing them in the first inning is good, too, because then I can turn it off and don't have to watch all of it.
Just when they're on the West Coast, right?
Well, that one was better than the previous night when you had to wait until the 9th inning to watch them lose it.
Cardinals, by the way, only 3.5 games back of a potential top 10 pick right now.
Woo! Top 10 pick.
314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. In 15 minutes, we're going to dive into some NFL quick hitters, including a potential Hall of Famer that sure appears to be ready for a comeback. We'll get into that in 15 minutes. But next, Ollie Marmol had a very clear explanation yesterday as to what he believes is going on with Ivan Herrera. Does it include some off days coming up? We'll let you hear it next here on 101 ESPN.
like he's feeling good. Like if you asked him right now, like, hey, how's your body? He says 100%. Like does not want an off day. And it's not him just trying to be like, no, I want to play every day. Like his body's in a really, when you DH every day, you don't get tired. And that's where he's at. He's like, man, my body feels great. I'm working on my swing, but my body's in a really good spot. So when I mentioned mechanical adjustments, that's exactly what I'm speaking to. It's getting him in the air. He doesn't have to think pull side as like some, because he can spray the ball all over the field, but just getting him off the ground is an important part to this whole thing.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. That was Ollie Marmol yesterday as he was on with the Gas House Gang, goes on with them weekly. And Alex, he was referencing Ivan Herrera. He says he feels good right now. It's just a bad swing. He's in a bit of a slump right now, and that might even be understating it. In his last 86 at-bats, this is now 22 games for him, and he's played in all of them. He's 16 for his last 86. He has 1 double, 1 homer, 6 RBIs, and this is the most telling stat to me, given what Ivan Herrera is as a hitter when he's good. 3 walks in his last 93 plate appearances. 3 in his last 93. That is hard to explain, man. His OPS over this stretch is 470. There have been stretches this year over a 22-game span where his on-base percentage is 470, and that is now his OPS over his last 22 games. I understand that he's telling the team, hey, I feel good, body's in a good spot. There are numbers publicly available, though, that would suggest, I don't know, man. Maybe that's the case, but the swing speed is down. The contact is down. He's swinging more often, which even if that's a mental thing, that is not great. He's swinging outside of the zone. The other day, he had a swing. I think it was like his 3rd at-bat where he struck out. And it was a pitch that was a solid foot outside of the zone. That is not the kind of thing you would typically see Ivan Herrera swing at. And he just looks kind of lost at the plate. So, again, I understand that he feels good. He's telling them that right now. And they probably got some metrics that show his body's moving well. They have that stuff internally. But it's hard for me to look at the metrics, look at what we have available publicly and say, yeah, this guy doesn't need a day off. I think we're at that place, and I think we've kind of been there for a little while now.
Yeah, I understand what Ollie's saying. If Herrera comes to us and says, I'm good, like I feel great, my body is not in a bad spot, I'm just in a slump. But at some point, I think you have to save the player from himself to where it's like, hey, man, I know you feel good, but it's not looking good, and we just need you to take a day to shut your brain off. We talked about this when Holloway tried to rush back from his injury, to where we were like, he said he was fine, he was trying to get back on the ice, and we said, yeah, but don't you have to protect the player from hurting himself more long-term? Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying this is going to hurt Herrera long-term, but man, this has been a pretty long slump for a guy that just has really not had the power that I thought he was going to have this season. So he could come to me every day of the week, and I know you have to have the trust of the player to say, like, look, the player needs to know the manager's got his back. But after playing every single game this season, even as a DH, man, that is a mental grind. You're in the heat of the summer. You're coming off of an all-star break where you didn't have a break. I do think there's a little bit of protecting the player from himself, saying, I know you feel good. We need you to just take a mental day, and then we'll get you right back in there. That's what I feel like needs to happen with Ivan Herrera, even if he keeps telling people I'm good.
Here is Ollie Marmol talking about, he was asked directly, is the plan to have an off day built in for Herrera soon? Take a listen.
So in the second half, we'll work in some off days. Coming off the All-Star break, he'll catch tonight. There's a lefty tomorrow, so it won't be the next 2 days, but we'll find him some time, whether we're at home or our next road trip. We sat down and kind of mapped that out, but it wasn't going to be during this stretch immediately after the All-Star break. It'll be most likely when we get home.
I still feel like that game yesterday was a really good spot for it.
Yeah, but I think they put him there because of Libby starting, and they were hoping that he's helping Libby.
I agree with that.
I think that was solely Libby looked great with him the last couple of times, and we need to keep him with him.
I would also add, I think my read on that comment there, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, because I do know they do try and map this out like 2 or 3 weeks in advance. I think they kind of have they did map it out, but I think their hope was, hey, let's let him kind of see if he can figure it out, and if he does, then we just stick with what we have. And now that they're seeing, okay, these are the same struggles that were pre-All-Star break, now you probably do go to that plan that they laid out of, okay, that was plan A was hopefully he figures it out. We never have to go to the off day. All right, now it's time for plan B. Let's get him a work day in the cage with Brant Brown.
Yeah, they've got Fought tomorrow, and it's that weird day game after a day game coming home off of some travel. That could be a pretty good spot for it as well, where you just get him an off day there. You got a few righties coming up in this series, so there are going to be opportunities against either Arizona tomorrow or Cincinnati over the weekend to get him an off day. My guess is he'll get at least one of the next 3 days off, and you'll see probably a day where maybe like Alec Burleson gets a DH day there, and Jimmy Crooks is behind the plate. Something along those lines against a right-handed pitcher. So I think they'll get it, and I think it's necessary at this point. I am not nearly as frustrated by this as I was with like the Bryson Mott stuff, right? It sucks, but slumps happen.
Yep.
We saw this for 3 months last year, was it, with Corbin Carroll, where he was just going through it, man. And it wasn't anything where he was worn down. It was at the beginning of the season.
Didn't Churio go through that this season for Milwaukee?
Churio's was injury-related this year. Last year, he wasn't as good.
He was bad.
Look at Machado. Machado's still in a slump.
Yeah.
He's been bad all year.
So this, hell, we've talked about it before with Vlad Guerrero Jr. He's going through it right now. And it's very similar, honestly, with Guerrero and Herrera, where both of them are guys that hit for a lot of average, get on base at a good clip. And when they have those elite seasons, it's because the power comes through. And this season for both of them, the power just hasn't quite been there. So it is possible Herrera is telling the truth. And he feels great and everything's fine. And he's just not swinging it well for whatever reason. Maybe he's not seeing the ball coming out of their hand, whatever it is. But either way, I do think we're approaching the time where you at least have to eliminate the variable. Yep. Kind of similar to how it was with Libby, where Libby was like, hey, man, I don't think the catcher's the problem. But at this point, can we find out? Let's see if that could help you. And it did for a couple of starts, and now it, once again, kind of looks like it did previously. All right, there's one other thing from Ollie Marmol's interview that I wanted to get to, because the guys were talking about, and Bernie's been mentioning this a number of different times, how the offense has been quite bad for the Cardinals lately. I mean, really bad. And it kind of coincides with what we're seeing from Ivan Herrera. And so Bernie asked Ollie about the Cardinals offense underachieving and what is he seeing from that? And then Ollie almost immediately flipped that on Bernie. Go ahead and take a listen.
What player can you point to that is underachieving?
Are we talking about this month?
No, just in general. Just if you look at the whole season, what player can you look at and go,
I realize some of these areas are growth spots, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But I also think
I'm happy where Nathan Church is. I think he's actually going to have a really good run based on what we're seeing. But when you look at 1 month of production and saying, man, what's going on? Man, that's part of growth. But it's hard to point to any of those guys, Blaze Jordan, any of them, and say that they're underachieving. I think they're doing exactly what we would anticipate them doing based on where they're at in their careers. And to a decent amount of them, they're actually maybe a tick ahead. This is where we just need to continue to stay head down and get the most out of what we've got currently. And our job is to continue to close the gap of what's possible for them.
If Ollie asked that same question of you that he did of Bernie, and by the way, just for full disclosure, I did edit that for the sake of clarity. Bernie kind of went through the roster and mentioned who he thinks has disappointed. He mentioned Nolan Gorman as one that has underperformed. Ollie agreed with him there, said, yep, he's at the point of his career where he's got to be better. He didn't perform to our expectations this season. Again, editing for clarity, but that's kind of basically what he said. He brought up Mason Wynn, said, nope, I think he's kind of been what we expected this season. There's going to be ups and downs. We think eventually he'll have more pop, but right now this is kind of what we expected. Would you guys have anybody that you would throw into the mix outside of Nolan Gorman offensively that is truly disappointed relative to expectations?
Yeah, mine's Ivan Herrera. The slug is not where I thought it was. He finished last year, played 107 games because he had that injury. And he had 19 home runs for you, and he's been healthy, played every single game this season. They've managed him well. He's been a DH, and he's had 11 home runs. He's got a 377 slug. It's the lowest it's been since the first, basically, season of his career, where he only played 13 games. Like, I expected more pop and power from Ivan Herrera. I thought we would be talking about a guy kind of in the same light as Jordan Walker, to where he's a dangerous bat that teams fear. I thought that top four was going to be the most fearsome top four, at least in the NL Central, maybe the National League, for what the potential was. And
it wasn't going to be the Dodgers, but
well, that's fair. That's fair. Although the Dodgers are hurt, so it's pretty fearsome. Herrera would be mine. The on base has been fine, but the slug has not been there, and I just think I was expecting him to be a more impactful player.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I think that's fair because I think it's really the slug is with Herrera.
Dodgers was a little risky. Sorry, guys.
Hey, man, you were cooking. I was going to let you keep going. I got a lot. You said in the NL Central, I was like, yeah, I mean, maybe you'd go with the Cubs there. You could make an argument, but I get it. Yeah, let him cook. And then he said in the entire National League, come on, man.
In the NL East, damn it.
I think the Phillies probably got you there.
In the AL Central.
All right.
Yeah.
Woo!
Look at us go.
But no, I agree with you. Because, and look, it didn't start that way for Herrera, right? I mean, early on in the year, I would have not put him in that conversation. Yep. But as you start to kind of see that regression come back, and it's come back a lot harder than I think any of us expected, yeah, I mean, this is your number 2 hole hitter that's not hitting for any power, and that's supposed to be where your best hitter hits in your lineup. And I thought there was more power potentially there, right? I thought if he got a full season, we'd be talking about a guy that's like 25 to 30 home runs, and he doesn't look anywhere close to that, and he doesn't have the doubles to show for it either. So, yeah, I would agree. I think Herrera is definitely one of those that you can put up there. I would also add a win to that conversation. I can kind of get where the Cardinals are coming from of, hey, look, still 24 years old, still trying to come into his own. I could see where they could kind of explain away we weren't expecting as much from him. But 2 years ago at age 22, he slugged .416 and was 4% above league average. I kind of expected him. I didn't expect him to be a guy that would be like have Herrera's 10+% above league average. I definitely expected there to be a little bit more pop in his bat. Like he's got .322 slugs so far this year. That's nothing. That's barely higher than his on base percentage. Mm-hmm. So I think they should have expected more out of Mason Wynn offensively this season.
I think Walker has outperformed expectations. I think Weatherholt has outperformed expectations. I think Burley is basically at expectations, maybe slightly exceeded when it comes to slugging. Would you guys agree with that part?
Yeah, I'd agree.
Herrera, I agree with you. I would say he's underperformed lately. I would say he overperformed at the beginning of the year. So you end up right now with a 745 OPS. I think that's a little below. I think I was closer to like an 800 is what I was hoping for from him. Mason Wynn, I agree with T-Bone. You guys know how high I've been on Mason Wynn for the last couple of seasons. I thought there was more in the bat than this, and maybe there still is, but this season I think has been a relatively speaking disappointment for him. Nathan Church, this is expectations. Jose Fermin above expectations. Vic and Gorman, obviously, they're gone. That was not expected, so they have underperformed. Pedro Pajes, I think, is a little underperformed, but let's be real, we kind of knew he wasn't a hitter.
His underperformance would be defense.
Yeah. Lars Nootbaar, I think, is exactly what you hoped that he would be coming back from his injury. Blaze is probably about what I think reasonable expectations could have been for him.
I'd say he's outperformed my expectations because I just didn't think he was going. Nathan Church would be there as well. I just didn't think they would be competitive players for you.
Is Blaze outperforming expectations offensively or defensively?
Defensively.
I agree.
Yeah, offensively, I think it's
been kind of where I expected.
Agreed. I would agree with that.
JC disappointment. Torres probably at expectations now. Earlier in the season, I think it would have been above. Velasquez has exceeded my expectations personally. So I would say overall, it's really just like the guys that have been sent down. So JC, Scott, Gorman, they've underperformed. And then of the players that are currently here, it's Mason Wynn and Ivan Herrera to a lesser degree that have underperformed relative to expectations.
Probably where I'm at with that. I mean, Mason Wynn and Ivan Herrera would be the two for me that I just don't think have lived up to it. But even with Mason Wynn, like I think I might side more with Ollie to where I just think this is who he is.
It might be.
I don't think he's going to be a guy that ever really showcases power. I think he's just going to be a guy that floats around this batting average. He's got really good speed, and he's elite defensively. I just think that's who he is, and that's not a bad thing. It's just my expectations were lower for him going into it.
I would say the biggest thing for me, if we're just looking bigger picture on the offense and where it's at, like right now they've settled in like the bottom 12 in Major League Baseball when it comes to offensive production. They're currently 19th in OPS plus. If you go by just slugging percentage, they're bottom 5 right now in Major League Baseball. If you go on base percentage, that's where they go up a little bit. They're top 12-ish in Major League Baseball. I am disappointed by the lack of doubles. I think this offense should be one of the better doubles offenses in all of Major League Baseball, and it's the opposite of that. So far this season, they're 28th with 133 doubles on the season. That just doesn't match what I believe their swings to be. Like, I think Walker is a guy that should be putting a ton of doubles on the board. He kind of has been this year. But the same thing should be true for J.J. Weatherholt, for Mason Wynn, and for Ivan Herrera. Those guys should be smashing the ball into the wall. And they're just not doing that. Those guys have 10, 12, and 14 doubles respectively on the season. That's not good enough. So to me, that is the place where they have underperformed most relative to my personal expectations. It's the doubles category. And I think that you're feeling that with the lack of slug. The home run totals are probably in line or better than what we expected going into the season.
For the narrative of this team, I'd say so.
They're closer to middle of the pack than they are the bottom of the league, which, by the way, is Milwaukee, which is fascinating.
Go Milwaukee.
The doubles is where they're lacking. Doubles is where Milwaukee is third in Major League Baseball. That's what you're missing. If you get those, suddenly the offense looks a hell of a lot better.
Yeah.
And I think I wouldn't put Weatherholt in that category of underachieved for me just because he's a rookie.
On the doubles?
Yeah, because I didn't know what to expect from him. Now, I think he's going to grow into that. Like, I'm
have
not
one
concerned.
more double on the season than Nathan Church or Jose Fermin. I think it's fair to say that's disappointing.
I get it, but just from a rookie, I didn't know what to expect, right? I mean, he's not even slugging above 400 right now. So I just kind of thought struggles were going to come for Weatherholt. It's why, like, I don't know that I had any kind of expectation for what his numbers should look like.
The one thing they touted with him was his ability to make hard contact and create doubles. Yeah, I never expected home runs. It is both
surprising and disappointing that he doesn't have more doubles on the season.
He's exceeded expectations on the home runs for me. I didn't think he was going to do that this year.
Agreed.
But the doubles, I thought he was going to be a guy that was going to put up a ton of doubles.
By the way, I still think he will. This is not a concern long term. But this is based upon what we have seen for the first 100 games of the regular season, did I think he would have more than 10 doubles in 100 games? Yes. I didn't think he would have 14 home runs. I agree with Alex. I didn't think he'd have one fewer home run than Alec Burleson, and I didn't think he would have one more double than Jose Fermin or Nathan Church. Both of those numbers are surprising.
Poor guy.
I think over time, I think he's going to be a guy that hits 40 doubles semi-regularly in the major leagues. That'll be a hell of a lot of fun to watch if and when it happens. Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues, joins us in 15 minutes. NFL Quick Hitters is next. trying to get into shape
Yeah, come on, man.
to make sure he's good to go for the upcoming NFL season.
I thought you meant the charade of him coming back. Oh, yeah, that's a joke.
He's going to play, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Don't tell me you're trying to get into shape.
Yeah, I think he's going to be
Guarantee he'll pick up a sack in his first game back.
Dude, I love the...
Do you think he's going to be good?
Yes.
It's been a long time since he's played football.
I think he will be fine. He will definitely not look Aaron Donald. I mean, that guy was unstoppable. Yeah. Would he finish like double-digit sacks? No, I think he ends up with like 5 or 6.
I think so, too. But I think he has a big playoff moment.
I think
I can totally believe that. Yeah.
I think he's good with Myles Garrett. I think Myles Garrett opens up the chance for Aaron Donald to be good.
I just can't get over he's got to get in football shape. Have you seen this guy?
Dude is still training with knives, probably.
Oh, my God. He's like on curls. He's doing like 300 bells.
It's ridiculous,
it's
man.
ridiculous.
I can do that. Not a big deal.
All right,
Yeah,
so
me and him getting in shape's a lot different.
that's one piece of news in the NFL. I always like these pieces around this time of the year. Connor Orr, I think, does really good work for Sports Illustrated. He's one of the very few people actually writing for Sports Illustrated outside of the bots that are now posting stories for them.
People wrote for Sports Illustrated
thought they
still.
were done.
So SI.com had a list yesterday, called it the A list. These are, according to Connor Orr and people that he spoke with around the league, the 14 teams that he believes can actually win the Super Bowl this upcoming season. Now, he says he believes the NFL is as wide open as it's been in a decade, but he thinks there are 14 teams across the league that can win it. You guys ready for this list?
Yep.
Sure.
The Baltimore Ravens.
Nope. Already out.
I tend to agree with Alex, but I can see how you put them on the list, right? Lamar actually doesn't do Lamar things in the playoffs. Yeah.
They would not be on my list.
The Buffalo Bills.
I agree.
The Bears.
I don't think so.
I get it. I would say agree. I could see how it could happen.
I just put it into
I don't know how they're doing that past the Rams, but okay.
I just I put them up against other teams in the NFC. I don't know how they're getting to the Super Bowl. So I would say no.
Oh, no.
No. If Lamar's not on it for me, Dak's not down it for me.
I believe the Cowboys could. The Broncos.
No, not with Bo Picks.
I mean, I just watched Darnold win a Super Bowl. I'll say, yeah, I could see it. The defense is that good.
I think so, too.
Darnold was good in that Super Bowl. Bo Picks was not.
The Lions.
No, I can't see the Lions. I don't like their defense, and their core is slowly getting older.
And their offensive line is
going to go
torn up.
The Packers.
Hell no.
Oh, no, gosh.
Who the hell are they going to win to? Throwing at?
Okay. The Texans?
No.
I think they could. That defense, for the same reasons that I said about, or that T-Bone said about the Broncos, I think the Texans could.
If I just said that about the Broncos, I have to put the Texans in there, even though I don't really trust Stroud, just like you don't trust Bo Nix.
That's why I wouldn't put them on there. Their defense is great, but I don't trust the quarterback.
The Jaguars.
I got to. You were on the Jaguars last year when I was out. What would you say to that one?
I think no.
I leaned no originally, but I knew I was lower on them going into last year.
With them.
Chargers?
No.
Yeah, I say no, even though I love the roster. I don't trust them to be ready when they're ready.
I trust them this time around. That
being
said,
I go to the quarterback again.
Justin Herbert has still not won a playoff game.
Yeah.
So eventually you've got to win one.
So eventually you're going to win one and be a Super Bowl contender? No.
Sam Darnold was the same way prior to last year, and now they won the Super Bowl. So I don't know, man. The NFL is weird right now. The Rams.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Patriots?
Yes.
Yeah.
The 49ers?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Seahawks?
Yes.
I would say yes.
I thought somebody was going to say no.
Just the
That's
NFC
the end
West.
of their list.
Okay.
Was there anybody that I did not mention
I know one that they did mention that somebody might bring up.
that you think should be on that list?
Today. The floor is yours, sir.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
I think who was not there.
I just did when you said that. I'm like, who wasn't there?
I think not having the Eagles on this list is pretty crazy.
Oh, stop it.
Shut up.
Who did you really
That's
mean
not
to
the
say?
team you wanted to
Come
talk
on,
about.
Brandon.
I think not having Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase on this list and putting the Packers, the Lions, and the Jaguars on this list.
To be fair, I voted no on them, so I voted on the
crazy.
Bengals.
Yeah, the Bengals also don't have a defense for me to believe they could win the Super Bowl.
And in what world do you not have Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs on this list?
Because their best receiver was doing his training camp in jail.
Do you guys? I'm genuinely asking. I'm not going to get mad.
That one got T-boned.
Do you think the Chiefs can win the Super Bowl this year?
I think every time Patrick Mahomes suits up, they can win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I don't think the roster's great.
Yeah.
But I do like the addition of Kenneth Walker in the running back room. That helps with the running game. Defensively, they did lose a lot in the secondary, so we'll see what that looks like. But am I really going to get a bet against Patrick Mahomes multiple years in a row, right? I've done that multiple years in a row, and he's won, I think, 1 or 2 Super Bowls when I did that. So, no, I think they've got to be on this list. I would also put the Eagles on that list, but because they've done it before with Jalen Hurts. But, yeah, I'm with you. I think it's ridiculous not to have Kansas City on here.
If they just said, hey, you can't add more teams on, you've got to take somebody off to put them on.
Easy.
I would, for Philly, take off the Packers.
Yep.
For Cincy, I would go ahead and take off the Jaguars. And for the Chiefs, I would go ahead and take off the Lions. And boom, I've got my list.
My list is way shorter than you guys.
You wouldn't have 14?
No, I have 3 from the AFC.
Really? You only have 3 teams in the AFC that can realistically win the Super Bowl.
Patriots, Bills, and Chiefs.
Really?
Yep. And then...
Man, I've got like 7 in the AFC
on
that
the
I think could win
NFC
it.
side...
The NFC, I think it's 4.
I have 4. Rams, Seahawks, Niners, and I'd put the Eagles on there.
You could convince me on the Bears, but I would lean to keep them off.
I need to see a little bit more before I can treat them as a Super Bowl contender. Caleb Williams still makes mistakes that Josh Allen used to make early on in the Bills. But yeah, the AFC is not as wide open, in my opinion, because none of these teams have quarterbacks I trust. I don't trust C.J. Stroud. I don't trust Justin Herbert. I definitely don't trust Bo Picks. Trevor Lawrence might be the one I actually trust more with their team, but I don't trust that all-around roster. And the Bengals have no defense.
Can I ask a follow-up question to that, though?
Sure.
Because I would have agreed with that assessment as recently as a few years ago, that was a necessity, having a stud quarterback that can get you over the top. Is that still a necessity in today's game?
No, and I think the Seahawks changed that this last year, but you have to have an elite defense or you have to have an MVP candidate in multiple offensive positions.
But, okay.
Kenneth Walker and Jackson...
JSN.
Yeah, JSN. And then, I mean, you had 3 of the 4 things that I think you need to win.
So why don't the Broncos have that?
Because they don't have the quarterback.
But they have an elite defense similar.
Do they have
to
a
the
wide
Seahawks
receiver that I could see putting up JSN numbers?
Maybe not.
And do they have a running back that I could see putting up Kenneth Walker numbers? Like, they're an average team to me with a really good defense.
Okay.
And that's the same with the Chargers.
What about the Texans? Because I think they do have those things. I think Nico Collins is that guy.
I think
Where
Nico
this
Collins,
year he could have the best receiver of any in the NFL, and I don't think it would shock anybody.
But I don't trust C.J. Stroud to make Nico Collins.
I didn't trust
that.
Sam Darnold either.
Yeah, but Sam Darnold lived up to those expectations, though. Like, he still made the plays.
Well, see, I'd say he surprised expectations.
Yeah, that was not expected.
None of us
out of him.
I think all of us bet against him once we got to the playoffs.
That's fair. Yeah,
I didn't think Sam Darnold could do that.
I guess you're right.
I would still bet against it this year. I'm not sure that they can repeat.
I mean,
I'm still skeptical of it.
They're not making the playoffs.
I guess
he was hoisting the Lombardi, and I still said, that guy can't do it.
Yeah,
I'm living in a simulation. This isn't real.
I guess that's fair with the Texans. I don't know. For me, it's hard to trust Nico Collins if I don't believe in C.J. Stroud. And I mean, it's fair retort of the Sam Darnold and JSN, but I think that's why JSN was an MVP candidate for how great he was with that average
Nico
quarterback.
Is as good or better than JSN. I know that sounds crazy coming off of the season that JSN
He
just
was
had.
injured, though.
Who?
Wasn't Nico Collins.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, Nico is a special player, man.
Yeah.
He's a legit top 6-ish wide receiver in the NFL.
I guess it's fair with the Texans. I can hear that one out because they do have the wide receiver and the defense is elite. I'm very skeptical of the quarterback.
Denver's a little different. And if
Denver
you're
doesn't
not as
have
high on
anything.
Cortland Sutton or Jalen Waddle, then I can understand how you don't get yourself there. And I know you don't like Bo Nix. I totally understand that. But I just think some of these teams in the AFC right now, they do have a similar formula to what we saw a year ago. The Texans and the Broncos being most similar to what the Seahawks follow.
And to back up my Bengals take, because I saw somebody mentioned the Bengals is a joke that I wouldn't put them on there. Like, yeah, they have an elite wide receiver, an elite quarterback, and a really good running back. Their defense is god-awful.
Yeah.
And you're not winning Super Bowls by putting up 50-something points.
Especially in 2026.
No.
The games has reverted back to what it was 20 years ago.
You're not coming out of the AFC without a defense.
Yeah. You've got to be able to stop opposing offenses, because if you can't, you're done, man. You've got to run the ball and you've got to play defense. We are truly going back to the future with the way that football has been played. All right, coming up next, Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues here on 101 ESPN.
Hey, Chris Kerber with you here, and the summer heat, it's arrived. How's the air conditioning in your home? Is it good? Is it where you need it to be? Are you wondering why when you walk in it doesn't feel as cool as you want it to be? Get Classic Air Care Heating and Cooling, Plumbing and Electric out there to take a look at it. Number one, they can just do a maintenance check. Two, if they find a problem, they'll tell you about it, and any service fee goes towards that repair. More importantly, if you've had somebody out at the house and they're recommending a big repair, get a second opinion on it. I'm sitting here in the car right now watching one of these Classic Air Care vans, the orange ones with the penguins on it, going right past me on the road. They've got over 100 of them on the road. They can get to you quickly. They can get to anywhere, and they've got 9,000 five-star ratings on Google for a reason. You can see those on the website. Get a free second opinion. Make sure that you know the work is being done as one you can trust, and you can trust Classic Air Care. They've been making people comfortable since 1926.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals fell to the Angels yesterday 5-1. They tried to avoid the sweep later on this afternoon. 3:07 will be first pitch. Hunter Dobbins will get the start for St. Louis. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Alongside Alex and T1, I'm BK. Happy to go out to the Callier and Thompson hotline to be joined by our friend, the voice of the Blues. He's Chris Kerber, who joins us weekly here on BK and Ferrario. Kerbs, big news yesterday for the Blues as they announced that the NHL is taking over the production side of things for the TV broadcast in 2026. I'm going to ask you the question that I'm sure you've been asked a lot over the last 24 hours. What do you know about how people are going to be able to watch said production?
Well, I don't know more than what people read in that release. I thought it was pretty complete. What I do know, and kind of a bigger picture thing, is what the Blues are working hard on this summer. For those that need the real quick perspective here, you know, the regional sports model that has been in place for the last 25, 30 years, that's kind of gone as we know it. Cord cutting, all that stuff mattered. And by the time FanDuel closed up shop, you know, you were talking about close to 50% of our DMA didn't have access to the games because they didn't have distribution deals, right? So there's a lot of ancillary stuff that goes into this. What the Blues have been working hard, because they understand the market, they understand what goes into it, is saying, look, if you were able to watch Blues games last year, you're going to be able to watch Blues games this year from a TV standpoint. Now, we know on the radio side we got everybody covered right here for every game on 101 ESPN, right? But for the local games that are not on TNT or not on ESPN or ABC, if you had them before, you're going to get them again. They're going out, they're creating their own distribution deals in conjunction with the NHL, the Blues, and 3 other teams, similar to building what MLB has done, and MLB now has 14 teams on that platform, right? Things will be produced that way. Now, where you find them, what channels, what delivery services, what direct-to-consumer app will be used, that's all going to come out over some time yet. There's still some details being worked out. But I think it's a real positive, because what it really does, guys, too, and Alex being on the inside on a lot of kind of how things have, how you kind of build these broadcasts up, he could add more to this, but like the fact that the Blues are going to really have a lot of control over content in a way that, honestly, they have not had on the TV side for a long time. I think the partnership with FanDuel, Bally, Fox, the whole group was better in the last, the few years of it. And I thought last year they really did a great job. But, like, there's some real positives that are going to come out of here, because Blue Note Productions, under Trevor Nickerson and what that content group is doing, I think there's going to be a lot of great positives for Blues fans.
Well, and that was the one thing I wanted to ask you about, Curbs, because we talked about it on the podcast today. Donnie asked me, and I said, look, the one thing I can tell you is the Blues are taking control of these broadcasts. And with Trevor Nickerson and a lot of the minds that people see, the videos that are put together on social media that the Blues put out there on their website, like one of the things BK and I talked a lot about is how good the Cardinals broadcasts have been on the pregame side of the different features that they have. That's something that the Blues have control over now, to where people will get to see the Blues' creative minds working on the broadcasts.
Look, and just very open and honest with you on this. There have been times in the last 10, 12 years where we've gone to our TV partner and had some ideas on some things we've wanted to try, things we've wanted to do, and it hasn't been met with a lot of eagerness to try things, right? And so look at how good the Blues have been social media. Look at the kind of content they put out. I mean, August 2nd, they're going to be releasing a new Anatomy of the Draft feature, right? It's a great creative crew. And in some ways, kind of the handcuffs have been on for a little bit. Well, they're off. And I'm really excited about that aspect of it. Will it look different? I would expect some things to look different. I don't think that the format that was getting dried up, but haven't been used for 30 years is necessarily the way to go. Can they blow out some things like Saturday nights maybe, or some other stuff? They can. And the other part about this, and I think, Alex, I agree with you in the terms of the creativity, some of the features, and what we've seen from the Cardinals this year that we have not been used to seeing, right? And that is because these teams know their teams. The teams have the access. The teams, know what the general managers and managers and presidents of hockey ops or baseball ops are willing to do, not do, and you work with it, and you create some great stuff. I really do believe that from a content aspect and an entertainment aspect, I'm not foolish enough not to think that there won't be some growing pains and some adjustments along the way. But when I look at the Blues Blue Note production crew, again, as I mentioned, that great group, I look at the history and the care that our producer like Timmy Pabst has put in, and director Phil Malika, our pregame guys like Tim Trokey and Julie Friedbeiner and Bill Nowlick and our whole crew. Like, man, there's some real creativity, guys, and I'm telling you, I'm genuinely excited for what we're going to be able to create.
Chris Kerber's
ways.
I'm sorry, Curb, so you cut out there for a second. Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues, joining us here on BK and Ferrario. Curbs, is there anything else that you want to add on the TV side of things, the broadcast side of things that we haven't asked about that you think fans need to know?
No, I think that fans know the care that goes into it. They know the work that's put into it. They know that the Blues are a very fan-first organization that care about the little details, and they're working hard to put the best possible scenario together for them to make Blues hockey as accessible to as many people as they can. And I actually do believe that coming out of this, more people in the area and region will be able to watch Blues hockey than have been able to down the stretch here over the last few years. I think that should be exciting for fans.
All right, Curbs, I did want to ask you about one other thing, non-Blues related, news from yesterday. Jason Robertson has signed a 1-year, $12 million deal with the Dallas Stars. That will potentially take him up to a UFA status this time next year. What was your reaction when you saw the news, and how do you think this thing ultimately plays out over the next 11 months?
I was a little bit surprised. Now, he's not eligible to sign an extension until January, so this 1-year deal buys them some time. It's less value than he's probably worth, especially after we've seen an $18 million contract get handed out. However, he says, okay, 1-year deal, and then I'm a UFA and have complete control of my situation. I really thought, you got to go back a number of years now, but when Matthew Tkachuk signed his last contract with the Calgary Flames, I thought that would be a bit of an industry-changing contract when it comes to younger players, because the way they structured that bridge loan basically made Matthew Tkachuk would have been a free agent going right into his 26th birth year, right? So to me, I thought, well, that was a creative way to do it and give the player more control, and that's really what has happened here with Robertson. So I think great for the Dallas Stars. He's a hell of a player. This is a terrific player. The Dallas Stars need him. He wants to stay in that market. They haven't figured out the terms, and now they've got another year to figure it out. So I do believe that it's great when teams are able to keep their stars. So I'm glad this is working out right now for these two teams.
Kerb's on the Blues side of things. JR had a piece to talk about just realistic expectations for the upcoming season with McTavish and McMichael, and I think he had both of them floating around 50 points. For you, what are the realistic expectations for those players, and do you think that will meet fans' expectations of what they could produce this year?
Well, I'm going to assume that fans' expectations are you're competing and making at least a wild card spot, right? And if that's what fans' expectations are, then to do that, those guys are going to have those kind of seasons. I think McTavish is going to have the kind of season where he's approaching 65 points. I think he's got the kind of game in him. I think he's got that ability, right? So that's number one. I think McMichael, with this team and the opportunity that he's going to get, McMichael should be able to get himself to that 20-plus goal plateau again, especially if Blues special teams are better, and that's going to be a focus. So I think with those two players, I think 50 points for McMichael and 60 points for McTavish, I think are reasonable expectations.
Kerbs, we do have some a recent announcement, by the way. We'll get you out of here on this for the St. Louis Blues. They've announced some jersey numbers. Brandon Carlo's going to be 25. Connor McMichael will be 77. Mason McTavish will be 83. And Ross Johnston will be number 49. Kerbs, can you name any previous players that wore the number 83 for the St. Louis Blues?
Okay.
Some
First
Blues
up, I know
history
it's
for you here.
Barbashev with 49.
That's right,
83.
most recent one.
Yeah, and then I think we've had another 77 since Pierre Turgeon. That'd be Mikola, right?
Bukestad erasure will not be allowed here.
I forgot Bukestad wore that.
Also, P.O. Joseph.
Yeah, Bukestad, shoot, son of a guy, I love Nick. I'll tell you, great dude.
Joseph.
I feel bad about that. Yeah.
You should.
The last 83, okay, for some reason, and I think I'm going to be off on this because he might have been 63. It was like, if we had one, was it somebody like a Mike Glumak?
I think you felt yourself going in the right direction there, Kerbs. Never happened before. First ever number 83 in Blues history. How about it? Good job, Mason McTavish. First ever to do it.
I don't like the number, Kerbs. I don't feel like it's a goal-scoring number.
Well, 99 was, 66, 8 was, 66 in the NHL has been. I think we can live. Well, why not make it work?
I hope you're right, Kerbs. I saw it, and I'm like, oh, man.
The nice thing is you never have to put it on a line combination tweet because you just put the names out there instead of the numbers, right, Alex?
We'll go 83.
Listen, Alex, you know this. It's a statistic. We can make anything work.
I mean, that's fair. We do make anything work when it comes to these.
Hey, listen. Okay, like it's 83. I think he's doing a great job of honoring Barclay Plager and Bobby Gassoff.
See, I thought he would.
Did you see that?
I thought he wanted 38, and it's like, well, you can't be 38 because that's Dimitra, so we're going to give you 83.
Oh, I wonder if that was part of it. I would have loved to have seen Ross Johnston wear 39.
Oh, that would have been. That's a great point. Honor Kelly Chase,
Charlie Lindgren.
No, we don't remember Chucky Sideburns. 54 was Mike Glumak, Kerbs, number 54.
54, that's right. Yeah, he was 54.
Blast to the past.
Right. Matt Luff was 39 last year, so I don't know if it's available.
All these one-offs, man, they don't count.
Hey, you know what? Right, I love the fact that we've gotten to the point with this show and you guys, like when we're able to throw that kind of sarcasm around, we're finding next level.
That's what makes us work so well, Kerbs.
Like, you know what, BK, that comment almost brought a tear to my eye.
This is what I'm here for, Kerbs. Appreciate the time as always, man. Enjoy yourself.
All right, boys. Sounds great. We'll see you next week.
Take it easy. It's Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues, joining us as he does each and every Wednesday here on BK and Ferrario.
Or P.O. Joseph. You'll always forget he wore 77 for like 3 months.
Alex lowered his expectations for Mason McTavish by 5 points when he saw that he's number 83.
No, until I hear that he wanted 38 and it was Dimitra's and he said, I'm going to flip it. I didn't like 83.
What was he in Anaheim?
I think he was 29 or 39.
Mason McTavish, 37 and 23.
Okay, I was off. Was he 39 in juniors? Maybe that's what it was.
I don't know, man. 37 was unavailable because of Jack Finley. Can't get it from him.
Yeah, that's his dad. That was his dad's number. You can't take that.
Yeah. Can't have that number.
Yeah, McTavish was
23, which is Logan Mayu.
Can't have that either.
So, no-go and no-go.
Let me see what he was in juniors.
Unfortunately.
You always look at what they did in juniors, okay? Because that's where you figure out. Because sometimes they wear it thin, and then they're like, or then there's other times.
Tracking the
It
number.
could have been 32, though. That would have been a good number.
He was 23 in juniors as well.
Do you know who the last 32 was for the Blues?
Chris Porter.
Nope. He was a 32 for the Blues, but not the most
What
recent.
year was it?
He was number 32 for the Blues in 2022.
Oh, this one's going to be tough.
Was it Logan Brown?
No, he was 22.
There's also one since Chris Porter. It was 2018 when that player was number 32.
Was it Yakub?
No.
It wasn't Callie. Callie was 37, wasn't he?
Was it Kapanen?
No, he was 42.
I'll give you one hint.
There's a lot of twos.
Give me a hint.
It was a goalie.
22.
22?
He started one game for the Blues.
This sucks. Oh, God.
The guy that drove
Truly
a
have
Zamboni.
no recollection.
Was this
of
like an emergency?
individual.
This could have been an emergency goalie.
No, he wasn't.
The emergency goalie was when Petra was still here. I remember that.
He played 35 career NHL games.
Oh, God, was it a Russian? It was a Russian guy's name, wasn't it?
Oh, John Gillies.
John Gillies. Oh, he won a shootout game.
Yeah.
And then he went to the team that they played the next night.
New Jersey.
And then they beat him. Oh, God.
I have no
Some of the Blues
recollection of
history, man.
Tage Thompson wore 32 here in St. Louis as well.
that. Oh.
There you go.
Well, that's
so
a
that's
bigger name.
your recent
which number?
history of the number 32
Tage Thompson. That was the rookie year, I guess.
here in St. Louis.
Yeah,
Did not
Mason
keep that number in Buffalo, unfortunately, but was.
I got to
32.
think Mason McTavish wanted 38 because he wore 37 and 39. 38 was unavailable, and he said, let's flip it to 83.
Well, there you go.
That's my tinfoil theory on it, but I still
is
dislike it.
Wednesday in July radio. Coming up next, the Jump
Jersey
Right here on
Talk.
101 ESPN. Alex Luca did water day today at school, so he brought
good day.
Yeah, great day. So he wore his like swim trunks and everything to school. We brought an extra set of clothes for him during the school day. I feel like we're gonna have to start doing that for the show. It's like 25 degrees in here, or 150 degrees in here, and there's never the happy medium. And today, my hands are turning purple.
My fingers hurt.
I'm going to look around for some gloves here pretty soon. I'm going to be wearing mittens during the radio show.
We laughed at Jackson on TMA.
We saw him in the office when we're keeping track of, like, okay, when is TMA wrapping? And I saw him. I was like, guys, he looks like he's dressed for winter.
He's smart.
I did a segment and ran back to the office and got my jacket. I feel good now, boys.
I get in the car after the shows, and I turn the seat warmer on. Like, I have to warm my body up.
The funny thing is, like,
I don't handle cold
You
well.
did the Last Minute Blues podcast earlier today. They'll have that posted on YouTube later on. It had to be 100 degrees in that studio.
Just Swamp City in there.
We're on the opposite side of, for anybody that's unfamiliar with the way that Hubbard Radio looks, which is most of you probably.
Radio.
One side of it is where the studios are. The other side is where the offices are. One of those offices has since been built into a podcast studio. So that is where we do the Last Minute Blues podcast, the Redbird Report, Spread Zone, etc. That one is exclusively whatever it feels like outside. It does not matter. It is not. It's basically not climate controlled. If it's 100 degrees outside, it will feel close to 100 degrees in that studio. If it's 12 degrees outside, it will also feel 12 degrees in that one.
I don't miss that office, boys.
No, God, no.
I can't explain this one.
Nope, this one's rough.
I don't know how it works.
I have to, like, do high knees or something during commercial break to, like, get the blood flowing in my
Russell
body.
Wilson on the plane?
Yeah, I just, like, I don't handle cold well, and I know I cover hockey. I wear layers all hockey season.
Would you rather it be cold or hot in here?
Cold, because I can warm myself up. If it's hot, I'm miserable.
Yeah, cold, I can bring like another layer. Like I ran to the office and got this jacket. Man, when it's hot, there's nothing you can do.
It gets muggy, and I get angrier the hotter it gets. Cold, I can handle. It's just I freeze and complain most of the time.
At least it's beautiful outside today.
True.
So I heard.
Wouldn't know it in here, but at least it's beautiful outside.
Yeah, well, we'll get there one point.
I don't know. Being in here for 3 hours might make that hot outside.
No, it's going to feel like perfect, and then you start warming up, and then it gets miserable.
Tomorrow would be a really good baseball game to go to, by the way. It's supposed to be
after they get
really
swept by the
nice.
Angels.
Yeah, but you get to go see the Brandon Pfaadt versus Michael McGreevy, 4:15 first pitch. If you got kiddos that are home right now for the summer, for example, dude, that would be an awesome game to be able to
If only Libby would start tomorrow, it'd be Brandon Pfaadt versus Brandon Pfaadt.
Yeah. Pfaadt this year, by the way, is kind of turning it around.
Well, so is Fetty too, man.
Down to a 4.5 ERA on the season. The month of July in those last 3 starts, 2.3 ERA. So just in time for the Cardinals to face him tomorrow. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll get into more likely to happen. You give us 2 scenarios. We'll tell you which one is more likely. But next, Dustin May has been the talk of the Cardinals season as it pertains to their trade deadline plans. How much does his offseason, though, influence what they decide to do with him in 2 weeks? We'll talk about that next year on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. A lot of the talk this season for the Cardinals as it pertains to their deadline plans, Alex, has revolved around Dustin May. What do the Cardinals do with Dustin May? Well, for a long time, it felt as though they could get a pretty good offer for him. He was having a great season, had that complete game, one hitter. He had been really good. And then lately, he's been terrible. Completely fell off a cliff, is not getting deep into games, has some walk issues, had the ankle issue, the back issue. Just, it's not looked good. And in his last 4 outings, he's gone a total of 14 innings and has a 7.5 ERA. Not what you want if you're the St. Louis Cardinals. Timing couldn't be worse. And so now you look at it, you're like, okay, what are they going to do with him at the deadline? Because they're no longer in buy mode. They're probably not in stand pat mode. They're likely in sell mode. He would be an obvious candidate to sell. But what looms, Alex, this offseason is a decision on his contract. So first, they both sides have a mutual option for about $20 million. Does Dustin May accept that? I would think yes, but I'm not sure. Do the Cardinals accept that? I truly don't know. So then, let's say one side decides, you know what, I'm declining that mutual option. Okay, there's a $500,000 buyout in that scenario. Now the Cardinals would have the option of qualifying offer him, which is about $23 million.
Versus what was the mutual option offer?
$20 million.
So I think the Cardinals would prefer to do that route because it's a little cheaper.
Potentially. But maybe the Cardinals think, let's say it was Dustin May that declined the mutual option.
Yeah.
And the Cardinals say, all right, we'll tag you with the QO. It's possible that Dustin May would also decline that, in which case they would potentially get a second-round comp pick if he signs elsewhere.
You think he would decline that?
I don't know.
Because I don't think you're getting $23 million on the market if you're Dustin May.
I don't either, but maybe he thinks he could get 4 years and 40. Right? So it's not as much money for 2027, but it's bigger money guaranteed for the longer term. And as a guy that has so much history of issues with health, maybe he values that more. I don't know. The question that I wanted to get to here as it revolves around all of that, is he worth qualifying offer at this point? Like, would you be okay with him accepting that $23 million offer? Because that has to be something you're cool with if you're the Cardinals and you're willing to go that route.
I think those are two separate questions. Is he worth the qualifying offer? I don't know if he's worth $23 million if you only have him competitive for half of the season, or if he's just not what he was early on and this is who he truly is. Is it okay for the Cardinals to do it? I'm fine with it because it's a one-year deal, and I think you are going to have somebody who can give you some innings at the top of that rotation. I do think you're going to have a little bit of protection for some of the younger guys, depending on what it looks like next year for them. And I think if you go to the market to try and sign a starting pitcher who can throw innings and be somewhat competitive for you like Dustin May has been, I think you're probably playing somewhere close to $20 million. So I think if you're not getting a good enough return for Dustin May, then bringing him back for 1 year at $23 million isn't going to hurt you in the long run, because you're not going into this upcoming offseason as a team that's going to be willing to spend a ton of money in free agency. I think you're still developing. I think you're still bringing up some of these younger players. So for $23 million and then you walk after that, I don't think that's a problem for the Cardinals.
Yeah, is he probably worth the qualifying offer? I mean, the answer is probably no, but my thing would be, okay, well, who are you replacing him with? Are you going to go to the market and actually sign someone to help you with your rotation? Because I think you probably are going to need another arm if you let May walk. So are you willing to go out there and give a multi-year deal to somebody? Or are you going to look for another Dustin May-esque project? I mean, that's maybe what they may do is, okay, we'll just let him walk if he declines his end of the option, and we'll just go find our next Dustin May to try and build him. Now, I would say it's hard to hit on that back-to-back years. I mean, the Giants tried this for a while of let's do 1 year kind of rebound deals, and they got it right with Carlos Rodon, and then they missed on a couple of others. So I would probably just attach the QO to him, and he would probably come back on it. That would be my expectation, because I don't think he's getting a shorter-term deal with less money with the QO attached to him. I'd be willing to do it and then just kind of run back this rotation and kind of wait for some of those other reinforcements to come in the second half, and you're back in the same spot you are today when you'd have Doyle and potentially Sanger ready to go next year.
The tough part for me is what you do at AAA in this scenario. And the reason being, like, if you bring back Dustin May, let's say you have him. You've got May, McGreevy, Matthews probably starts out the season with you.
I had him in mind.
So.
Yeah.
Dobbins.
I think that just depends on if they're going to try and trade Palante or not.
Yeah.
Which I think they might. I could see where they try and use Palante to go buy something else
or
this offseason.
Let's say they're all back because it's a CBA negotiation offseason, and I don't know how much they're going to be able to get done.
So I think your rotation is going to be Leahy, Palante, McGreevy, Matthews.
Basically the same.
May.
It's what it is right now.
Yeah, just with Matthews instead of Liberatore.
Yeah.
And that's where I think Dobbins is pitching in the minors for you.
So Dobbins is at AAA, along with Senja, Molina, and probably Doyle, I would think, is at AAA next year.
Yeah.
And Jerpy is probably at AAA
Tanner Franklin's not there yet, right?
Not yet. He'll
He's
be
still
at
in
AA most likely next year. Roby will eventually come back. Like you start to get pretty full quickly.
And Richard Fitz.
At the AAA. Yeah, Richard Fitz is somebody that I have not mentioned there. There's only so many spots to go around just for starts at the AAA level. And I know this sounds like one of those good problems. Eventually it does become a problem, though, because you've got to get these guys opportunities and you've got to keep advancing them through your system. And so this is where you get to, you probably need to remove somebody from your rotation.
And can you use that asset to fill a void that's somewhere else in your organization, like third base or center field?
Sure. So do you trade Palante? Do you trade Dobbins? Do you trade Leahy? Do you trade one of these guys? I don't know who it is, but one of them for something else. Possibly. I think it makes sense to bring back Dustin May still. I do. I think that you can expect as good or better production next year from May as you could from one of those other guys that I just mentioned there. And you could use those other guys to potentially go get you something that you need. And it's not as though this money's going to be a problem. If this was a 5-year deal, I would be talking very differently about it.
Agreed.
But for 1 year, the Cardinals don't have money problems next year. They don't have limitations on them when it comes to their financial flexibility. Even if they overspend, quote unquote, by giving Dustin May, it's probably $5 or $7 million more than what he's worth on the open market. Okay, and? Like, nobody else is going to give Dustin May that money, but you could, and if he accepts it, well, I get Dustin May for another year, and maybe I flip him next year at the trade deadline, or he walks in free agency, and whatever. I got a year of Dustin May's control, and it allowed me to have more flexibility and to take these guys at their current timelines and to hold them down in AAA before I think they're truly ready to pitch at this level. So I think it makes sense to do this. And the reason why that's such a critical decision and why you kind of need to know it now is because if you're not going to give him that qualifying offer, if they disagree with my assessment, they probably need to trade him for whatever the highest bidder is.
Yeah, just get whatever you can.
If they are going to qualifying offer him, though, if that is the stated plan, then trading him at the deadline should necessitate getting more than that second-round pick in return. And if we're being real, I don't think a team's giving you that right now, given the way that he's been pitching for the better part of the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think one thing, too, that makes it tough in this equation is, and it depends on how he pitches, which is the first caveat here, but he also might be even harder to trade at next year's deadline. And the reason I say that is because he'll be making more money. Because if he gets the QO, that means he's also making more money at this point in the season that's left on that deal.
You could eat it, though.
You could, and that would probably be what they would do, and that would be the smart play. But I do think that will be part of their conversation in that, because there's a chance that could be okay, if we do bring back May, there's a decent chance we end up having to keep him all year.
Yeah, I think they just eat the money in that scenario.
Maybe.
You'd have to.
I wouldn't be as confident in my answer, but
they've done it a lot this offseason.
Previously, I would have been with you, T-Bone, but they just did that in order to move on from the money with
Heim's got
Nolan
the magic
Arenado,
touch to get the DeWitts to eat money.
Sonny Gray, and Wilson Contreras. If they were willing to do it there, I have no hesitation that they're going to be willing to do that for a few $1 million with Dustin May.
Either way, I would say that if you're bringing him back, you almost have to operate as if it's probably a full year thing, but I'm still okay with that, right? Taking your time on letting some of those guys develop, because you don't want to rush a Doyle. You don't want to rush to Senja, some of your top-end pitching prospects. I'm with you. I think it's more of if you bring back May, I'm starting to explore what I can get for like a Palante, a Leahy. Even if you want to take a dip into that minor league system of, all right, what kind of value would like a Molina carry on the market, right? If we try to package him with something else, can we go and kind of reinforce some of our bigger problems that we have on our roster?
Yeah, could you go get a third baseman, to Alex's point? Yeah. Could you use Mason Molina plus to get a third baseman? Could you use, maybe it's Hunter Dobbins?
It's what the Blues just did with Bolduc, right? Mm-hmm. You have a ton of wingers, and you said we need help on the right side of defense, so you go get Logan Mayhew. You've got a lot of starting pitchers. You probably don't need one, maybe two of them. Can you package them to go say, now we got our third third baseman who's, 26 years old that fits into the same timeline as all of these guys. And we still are in a good spot with our pitching pipeline.
This is all why I think, for as much as we're talking about Dustin May at this year's trade deadline, I think the more likely pitchers to be traded at some point between now and the start of next season, depending on what happens with the CBA negotiations, are Andre Palante, Kyle Leahy, Hunter Dobbins, one of those three most likely. Because I think that's where you ultimately are able to get a little bit more because they're controllable, and you can continue to have Dustin May as a part of this thing for at least the next calendar year.
And that's why at least you're rooting for Palante and Leahy to keep doing what they're doing and sustain this, because if they can do this for the rest of the season, they're a lot more attractive when it comes to the offseason of teams saying, well, we need cheap pitching. Well, great. Cardinals have it. It's cost controlled with the exception of Palante, and you're going to give us back something in return.
314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. More likely to happen coming up next. Hey, it's BK, and it is time for you to unlock your inner champion. The place to do so is with Victory Men's Health. Check them out today. They have 4 great locations across the St. Louis area, and you can find them online at victorymenshealth.com. When you get to their website, you'll be able to read about all that they have to offer. They've got a fantastic supplement shop. That's something that I use each and every month. They send me supplements straight to my front door. Super easy to use. The other thing, they're prepackaged. So instead of having, 4, 5, 6 different pills that you take every morning that are all in different bottles, no, they're all in one package. So especially if you're somebody that travels a lot, super easy for you. They also have testosterone optimization, weight loss goals that they can help you meet, sexual health, red light therapy programs. It's all available at Victory Men's Health. So book that first appointment today online at victorymenshealth.com. When you get there, click on the upper right-hand corner of the page. It says Get Started. All you have to do is put in your name, email, phone number, tell them BK with 101 ESPN sent you, and then tell them what it means for you to unlock your inner champion. It's all available for you today online at victorymenshealth.com. That's victorymenshealth.com. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for more likely to happen. You give us two scenarios. We will tell you which one is more likely. Alex, more likely to be traded by the St. Louis Cardinals at this year's deadline. Riley O'Brien or Andre Palante?
Riley O'Brien. I feel like Andre Palante, I just don't know what the desire will be for that, to where I think a lot of teams, even if he's struggling, will be calling to get Riley O'Brien because he's a bullpen arm and he's got closing experience.
Yeah, I would say Riley O'Brien as well. I think Palante back-end starters do get dealt at the deadline, but my gut always tells me, or my memory, I should say, always tells me it's more of like rentals, right? Like Zach Eflin-esque guys that get moved, not guys of control. Those are more off-season moves. So I would say it's more likely O'Brien. Everybody's looking for a reliever that's in the playoff race. They could look at him and say, we'll add him, we'll see if we can fix him, and if we don't, he can like slot in as our sixth-inning reliever.
You know who the Riley O'Brien one, I would say O'Brien as well. I forget who the Royals gave up for Lucas Erceg a couple of years ago. He was a reliever from the Oakland Athletics at the time, and he was 29 years old. He had only been in the big leagues for 2 seasons at that point. The previous year had a 4.5 ERA. That year had an ERA of 3.7 at the time that he was dealt, and was striking out about 10 batters per 9 innings, 3.5 walks per 9 innings. Very similar kind of a year to what we're seeing right now from Riley O'Brien. And that feels similar to me to what we're seeing with O'Brien. They ended up giving up 2 different pitchers and an outfielder at the time. I wonder if that's the framework for a deal that the Cardinals could get for Riley O'Brien.
And if you could get that, I mean, as much as I'd hate to move on from it, but that would be something worth trading for if you're the Cardinals and say, we'll just find somebody else for that closer spot moving forward in the bullpen. Yeah. More likely to happen, guys, when they get to the NHL, they never go back to the AHL. Adam Yurichek or Justin Carbonneau?
Yurichek.
I think I agree. I think it's likely neither would go back, but I could see a scenario where Carbonneau comes up, kind of has some of those young forward learning experiences and goes down. Yurichek's a guy that they seem to think is special, right? I mean, I think we've heard Petro comps, and like if you're giving out those kind of comparisons, the moment that guy's up here, he's never seen the AHL again. So I think I agree. I think it would be Adam Yurichek would be my guess. That's
mine as well. I think there's so much depth on the forward side that if Carbonneau's not great right away, they'll say, we need you to be a top 6 guy, so go back and learn. Yurichek, they're fine if he comes in and plays third pair for you, and there's nobody really pushing for his roster spot. So Yurichek would be my answer.
I know you guys talked a little bit about this while I was on vacation last week. More likely to be the next Cardinal extended, Jordan Walker or Alec Burleson?
Walker.
Yeah, I still think it's Jordan Walker, even though it's expensive.
I think I agree.
I think you got to lock up the 2 core pieces of your team in Weatherholt and Walker.
Yeah, I think I agree. I would not do it, though, this offseason. And I know I'm definitely in the minority in that. I want to see him do it again, right? I'm not willing to completely bet in a long-term deal with Jordan Walker just yet, but I think he's probably the most likely because I think with Burley, we've talked about it, I think there's a chance he could be a potential trade chip in the offseason. I'm not guaranteeing that, but I could see that. And if you're going to extend him, they may even just wait till he gets that year up until he gets to free agency.
By the way, that deal that I mentioned, Lucas Erceg going to the Kansas City Royals.
Going well for the A's?
They did get a bullpen arm in that deal. He was a top 10 prospect in the Royals system at the time, previously a 3rd-round pick a year prior. So a legit prospect has failed spectacularly.
As most do.
He's a bullpen arm, but he's just not very good at it. They also, in that same deal, got Will Klein, who is now a dominant bullpen arm for the LA Dodgers. He has a 2.5 ERA for them so far this season. I'd have to look up what the A's got for Will Klein, but they eventually flipped him in a separate deal. And they also got an outfielder named Jared Dickey in that deal as well. He is currently at the AAA level for them, and he's performing pretty well. He's got an 800 OPS for them. So that's what they ultimately got in return in that deal for Erceg. Again, that's maybe the kind of thing that you could expect in a deal for Riley O'Brien. All right, 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for more likely to happen. Somebody said Erceg is hot garbage. Now, that is correct. From the 314, Guys more likely to happen. The Cardinals give Walker a 10-year, more than $200 million extension, or they sign several different players like they did with Weatherholt. Could be somebody like Burleson, Wynn, or maybe some of their pitchers.
Walker.
I agree.
I don't know who several other players are that you're giving Weatherholt contracts to.
I mean, like, I could see Burley. Maybe they do I think Jacob Wilson's the comp with Wynn. I think he got, 6 and 65 or something like that. But I wouldn't do it with Wynn. Outside Burley be like the only guy. I don't know that Heim will do it with a pitcher. So I would say it's more likely it'd be just Jordan Walker, and then everybody else to just kind of play through the system.
Yeah. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for more likely to happen, more likely to make the playoffs in the next calendar year, the Cardinals or the Blues.
I'll say the Blues.
I'll say the Blues just because it's trending the wrong way for the Cardinals.
Yeah. I think the Blues are fighting with
I don't think the Blues are
three other teams for that last wild card spot, and I think they're better than those 3 other teams.
Yeah, I haven't seen the Blues, or I don't think the Blues will be a playoff team, but I haven't seen them, so I can at least dream a little bit more than what I'm watching right now.
Agreed on all fronts. By the way, Will Klein was traded for international bonus money. With the Seattle Mariners.
That's the gift that keeps on giving when you get traded for that.
Then he was
he went to the Mariners?
And then he was DFA'd by the Mariners 3 months later, signed with the Dodgers, and then became one of the better relievers in their bullpen.
Didn't he get the win in that big game in Game 7? Wasn't he the one who threw 4 innings?
I think that's him.
Went to Eastern Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So the Royals just don't know how to develop pitchers.
Well, I mean, they did fine. They traded him for a bullpen arm. They were okay. The Athletics were the ones that really screwed this up. The A's and the Mariners both gave up on him. The Dodgers said, no, there's something here.
Fitting the Mariners gave up on him as they gave up on O'Brien.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for more likely to happen. More likely to happen. J.J. Weatherholt gets to 20 doubles or 20 homers this year. That's amazing that it's a legitimate question.
Probably 20 homers.
I think so. I mean, he's at 14.
Yeah.
What's his double number at?
10.
Ooh. Yeah, I guess it would be home runs. That's a wild stat.
It's crazy. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line from the Ivan Herrera worshipper. More likely, Quinn Matthews becomes the Cardinals' next ace, or Dylan Holloway scores at least 35 goals. I would go Holloway.
Yeah,
sure.
I'd go Holloway.
I would too. I don't think Quinn Matthews is an ace. I think he's... I don't know what the comp would be. I think he's kind of what they were hoping Libby was going to be, which was like a number 3 that's got decent swing and miss stuff.
I think he could be your number 1 starter on this staff, but that does not mean that he's an ace.
Look at our number 1 starter this year.
Agreed.
It was Libby to start the year.
Do you think that Quinn Matthews will be better than Michael McGreevy? I don't. I think he will not be as good as what Michael McGreevy has been so far this year, is what I should say.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think in the long run it would be close. I'd give the edge to McGreevy. I think Matthews is going to struggle when he first gets up here. I think he's going to have some walk issues when he first gets up here.
I think there's some good evidence of that based upon what he's done at the minor league level. I'm excited to see him, though, whenever that happens.
You sound like it, man.
And then I'll watch him pitch 3 times. They're like, next prospect, please.
Give me Liam Doyle.
The thing is, there's nothing after him. That's it. Once you see Quinn Matthews, that's the last dude. Once they call up Bryson Motts, which will... Do you think it's going to happen tomorrow?
No.
Right, here's one. Here's a more likely to happen for you. More likely to be called up for the Cardinals bullpen tomorrow. Ryan Fernandez or Bryson Motts?
Give
Ryan
me Fernandez.
Yep. It's a fun try, man.
I was thinking of that earlier in the show today, and I brought that up to PK just to see if I'd break his little heart.
You did, man.
But I can't. You're gonna love the whole. Well, we are moving Motts into a bullpen role, but he's got to learn how to do that first to AAA before he can come up here. Yeah. I could totally see that being said.
Got to learn to be a bullpen arm.
Yeah.
Ryan Fernandez knows how.
That's right. He knows the grind of going on back-to-back. Motts haven't even gone back-to-back yet. How
Ryan Fernandez has 5 walks and 2 strikeouts and has allowed 5 earned runs since going back down to AAA.
But he knows how tough it is to be a bullpen arm.
Yeah. He knows how to get up and down and warm up real quickly.
He has a 12 ERA.
It's a small sample size.
So we don't judge ERA. That's not what we go off of.
10 hits allowed in his last 3 innings.
A couple of those might have been bloopers.
Yeah. And it could have been bad luck.
Yeah. What's the BABIP?
Yeah.
529.
It's small sample size.
Yeah. Yeah, he's working on certain pitches.
Brandon, our model
He needed
says
95 pitches to get through 3 2/3.
Well, the model says those are good 95 pitches.
He needed 95.
Did you see the spin rate on him, though?
Oh, my God, man.
I knew I would get to one. That would make Alex have a spit take. We got there.
Oh, my God, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got
That's
it.
not that hard to do because I got, like, no teeth on my left side. But, damn, man, that's intense. Who needs that many pitches?
No, well, Ryan Fernandez.
Oh, God.
And to be fair, at times, Bryson Moss.
Yeah, I was saying.
Oh, God.
How many pitches Mod's thrown in his 4 innings of relief?
I'll check.
Because I think he threw like 40 in the first time he did 2 innings. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I swear he threw like
That's
40
possible.
pitches. Because that sounds like Moss. You're right, 95's a lot, but
Good God, man.
that's a guy that went out there in 8 innings.
That's a guy that knew what his role
he
was.
didn't. That was 4 separate
All
outings.
right, sorry,
Yeah.
let me rephrase
No,
that. That's a guy that went out there and wore one for the team.
You want guys to throw 100 pitches. He did so, but in 3
That's
innings.
okay.
So his first outing,
Starter wouldn't do that.
Bryson Motts went 2 innings, did not allow a hit, a walk, or have a strikeout.
How many pitches, though?
18. His
That's a
second
perfect outing.
Hold on, Alex. His second outing, 2
Why won't we go
innings,
tomorrow?
3 hits, 4 strikeouts, no walks, no runs, 32 pitches, which is not bad. That's pretty good.
Better than Ryan
50
Fernandez.
pitches over the course of 4 innings.
Where Ryan Fernandez threw how many?
95
I admit it had to have been entered
for
wrong.
3 1/3.
He's
It had to
working
been
on.
entered
He's
wrong.
working on
Yeah,
things.
no,
It had to because there's no way you could throw that many pitches
no.
and the game just not be like 45-0.
Yeah. That was one of those classic, oops, I meant to click on a different number on my
Yeah, that was
keyboard.
supposed to be a 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5's
yeah.
above the 9. Just know it's actually not.
around
Did
it.
we all look down at the phone and be like, wait, that's not right?
It's below
Maybe
and
it's
then
supposed to
over.
be a 6.
Close enough.
Yeah.
No, it's above. 9's below.
I think it'll be Bryson Motts tomorrow.
Yeah, I think you're wishing, buddy.
I hope you're right. I'm rooting for Fernandez just so I can watch BK come on the air. What are we doing?
More disappointed when Tyreek Hill was traded or when Ryan Fernandez was brought up over.
Dude, they better call it Motts. Coming up next, is it reasonable to dream on this Mizzou team in 2026? At least one national analyst says so. We'll tell you about it next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals fell the Angels last night 5-1. They'll try and avoid the sweep later on this afternoon as Game 3 out in Anaheim is at 3:07 today. First pitch, Hunter Dobbins will be on the mound for St. Louis. The Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
With Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. I am the kind of person that would say yes to the question that I'm about to ask.
I thought your mouth froze when you started to talk and you couldn't get it out. Freezer burn.
I think it's starting to warm up, but I also
It's
could
not,
just
man.
be-
You're starting to go numb.
could also be kind of similar to like when you get into a really cold pool and your body just eventually...
Yeah.
You went numb.
You're shaking and you don't know it.
Yeah. Your toes have just turned into icicles.
So one of my favorite pieces every year was by Bill Connolly. He used to write for Rock M Nation, and he used to do a piece called Count the Ifs. If this happens, then Missouri can become a title contender. And the fewer ifs you have as a team, the better you probably are as a team. So, for example, this year he's doing it now for ESPN.com, and he's doing it for a number of different teams across the country. He does not have a single team that has only 2 ifs this year. But he does have Ohio State, where if the portal delivered a pass defense and if Jeremiah Smith has better battery mates and if Arthur Smith, their new offensive coordinator, can pick up the pace, Ohio State will be your national champion this year. I say all of that because one of the keep an eye on this team listed is the Missouri Tigers, Alex.
Oh, suck it, T-Bone.
He said these are 3 longer shots that if I was going to give you teams that have longer odds, I found 3 that could realistically turn into a contender with only 4 different ifs. These are big ifs, but do not write off BYU, Tennessee, or the Missouri Tigers.
Whoop, whoop.
Alex, is it reasonable to dream on this Mizzou football team?
No.
Okay.
No, that's unreasonable to dream on this team. I mean, like, you don't have the guy that's the identity of your offense for at least the first 3-4 games, and you don't know what he's going to look like when he comes back. You've got a brand new quarterback. You got a brand new offensive coordinator. Your defense is bringing basically 11 new faces into it, and your offensive line already has a massive injury. In the SEC, man, I don't know how you can dream on that team. Like, if you're counting the ifs, there's a lot of ifs on Mizzou.
Not according to Bill Connolly. He says only 3.
I think he reached the word
Did
limit.
he do what the person that was keeping stats of Ryan Fernandez's pitch count did? He wrote the wrong number down?
He said if Chip Lindsey, the new offensive coordinator, can harness Austin Simmons' upside, if the Tigers are still the yards after carry kings, Ahmad Hardy, Jamal Roberts, they combined for 2,000 rushing yards last year. They averaged at least 4.3 yards per carry after contact last year.
You didn't have to do that. After. We got it. I know what yak means.
If there's another pass rusher beyond just Darius Smith, and then for good measure, if the portal delivered in the secondary.
Some pretty significant ifs, if you ask me.
I would say this.
Me.
If you had brought that up, like, last year, 2 years ago, when the schedule wasn't as hard, I would have said, okay, maybe I could convince myself of that. Yeah, now they've got, like, an actual SEC football schedule. And that's where I'm just like, I can't even hear the argument on them. Like, I already look at their schedule. At A&M, loss. First Texas, loss. At Georgia, loss. I think Oklahoma's better than them, loss. That's 4 losses already.
You didn't mention LSU, or Ole Miss, excuse me.
Oh, and at Ole Miss, yeah. So I think there's at least 5 losses on that schedule.
I wouldn't count Oklahoma as guaranteed of a loss as you would,
wouldn't
but
either.
I would, because I think they're a better football team. So, but I get it if you're not going to. I can't see this conversation happening. And like some of those ifs are legitimate, but are all of those going to hit? And are those the only 3 that they have? I would say no. I can't have that conversation. I think they're like a 7-5 team this year. 7-5, 6-6 is where they're going to be.
Hard-bodied said, BK, I get that you like this dude, but does he have any idea the slightest bit of history that happened at Missouri football? It surely does not sound like it.
How Drake can't win the big game. You forgot that if.
He doesn't know how to find a quarterback.
He went to Missouri. Bill Connolly did, and he lives in Columbia, so I think he's probably a little familiar with their history. But yes, to answer the question directly, yeah, he does.
Listeners are a little feisty today. I like it.
I think if you figured it out, like if Austin Simmons can be for Missouri what Drew Lock was for Missouri, I do think it's okay to dream on him. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to win the title. I don't think they will. But can they win 9, maybe 10 games this year and surprise all of us? If they have one of the 10 best quarterbacks in college football, I don't think that's a crazy possibility. You could, maybe Ole Miss takes a step back with Lane Kiffin not on the sidelines any longer. I think that's very possible this season at Ole Miss. Maybe this season it just doesn't come together for whatever reason at Georgia. I think that's possible for them. Maybe Texas A&M does what they've done basically every year outside of last season, and they disappoint compared to expectations. And you're able to beat just 2 of those teams that I just mentioned there. And you lose to the other 2, and you go 10-2, and in the SEC, that's probably good enough to get you into the playoff. I don't think that's particularly likely. But if Austin Simmons is special, you could do this year basically what Alabama did a year ago, where nobody thinks they're great, but they find a way to get to the end of the year. They're 10-2, and they get into the postseason, and nobody views them as a true contender. I think that's at least out there for Mizzou, but it is reliant upon them having the quarterback position figured out in a way that they haven't in about 5 years now. And I don't know how likely that is. I just don't know what Austin Simmons is.
And I also think it's reliant on them nailing a lot of the decisions on the defensive side. Like when you're changing 11 different faces, man, it's hard.
Huge questions.
It's hard.
No
doubt. And I said yesterday, I give them the benefit of doubt on defense because they seem to always find guys and turn them into stars that get drafted in the NFL. But man, to do that with 11 spots and expect it to go the direction you need it to win in the SEC, man, that is tough.
To be fair, we do that with other teams across the country. We just give them the benefit of the doubt. We've done that for a decade with Alabama, where every year they have to replace their defense. Georgia, every year they have to replace their defense, and they do it. And they're really good the following season. They've got a great coach. They've got really good talent that comes in, and then they hit the portal. Yeah. Basically, every offseason, that's the way that it goes.
Fair.
I couldn't name you the starting defensive line this year at Alabama, but I bet you they're going to be pretty good because they've earned the benefit of the doubt based upon what they have done for the better part of, 20 years. Same thing for Georgia over the last decade. I think Missouri, for the most part, has earned the benefit of the doubt on the defensive side of the football. Now, that they're going to have to prove it again, but they've been able to prove it time after time after time. And this is with multiple coaches on that side of the ball, which is different than a place like Georgia where it's just always Kirby Smart's side of the ball. So I do think that they're likely to be pretty good over there. But even if they do take a step back, and they've been a top 20 defense in the country each of the past 3 seasons, even if they're like 35 on that side of the ball, if Austin Simmons is special, that can make up for it by getting that much better on the offensive side of the football, where you do still have that running game and you potentially have a better passing game this time around.
Yeah.
So I think Simmons is the great equalizer here, where this is the kind of talent you haven't had at the quarterback position since Drew Lock, and it's just about what his upside is and can he actually reach it. I don't know. I can't tell you.
It's the one point that I'm super excited about the season because I want to see if they have a quarterback, but it's also the point that I'm scared of because I was that way with Prabula this past year. And I
never thought Prabula had this kind of upside, though.
No, it's fair, but it was somebody else, and I was like, well, they're going to get it right this time. And the hype because he was coming from Penn State, I just thought that they hit it finally.
I think with Simmons, the upside is much higher than it was with Prabula. I also think the downside is lower.
Yeah.
I think there's a chance he's just not a good college quarterback. And if that happens to you at Mizzou, and this is something that we didn't talk about in this segment, I think there's also a possibility Mizzou goes 6-6 or 5-7 this year. I'm open to that. Mm-hmm. But I just think the range of outcomes for them, because in part what their starting quarterback is, and to the point on the defense, the turnover there, it may not go as well as it has the last few seasons. The range of outcomes is as wide for Missouri football in 2026 as it has been in maybe the entire time that Eli Drinkwitz has been there.
Yeah.
Because early on, we knew that it could potentially be really bad. We didn't think there was a whole lot of upside. Now we think it could be kind of bad, but I do think that upside exists in a way that it didn't previously.
Yeah, that I agree with, because I think to your point on Simmons, for example, I think Locke feels like a good comp of could he be that for Missouri? And if he is, and you've got the running game getting back to what it was last year, I mean, you're talking about a hell of an offense. And then, the defense, to Alex's point, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt because they've been able to do it. The problem with Bo is, his ceiling was what? You hoped he became Brady Cook?
Yeah,
and we kind of saw what that was. It had its limits of about 8 wins was kind of the ceiling, maybe 9, with a really good defense like they had last year. But the floor for him was like, that guy may not even be a Power 4 quarterback. I'm shocked he's the quarterback at Virginia, you know? So I agree with you there. I think now that does mean there are wider range of outcomes, but you do want to look at that upside at that quarterback position because he could be something that is special that they haven't had in a while.
For what it's worth, The Athletic put together their quarterback rankings earlier today in college football heading into 2026. They talked to different people across the college football industry. This includes coaches, evaluators, general managers, which are now a thing at the college football level. And they had Austin Simmons ranked 26th overall among all of the college football starters heading into the upcoming year. They wrote the following. Simmons entered the 2025 season as Ole Miss's starting quarterback, but an early season injury opened the door for Trinidad Chambliss, who never relinquished the gig. Simmons has just 2 starts at the college level, is going to get another shot this season at Mizzou. There are many questions about his ability. He has legitimate arm talent, good ball placement, mobility, and processing skills. And an SEC general manager told The Athletic, quote, early on you saw a lot of the flashes. I think there's a real chance it works out well at Missouri. So they're high on Austin Simmons and what he can be for the Tigers. For those that are curious, the top 5 quarterbacks heading into next year, according to this list. Number 1, Trinidad Chambliss at Ole Miss. Number 2, Dante Moore from Oregon. Number 3, C.J. Carr at Notre Dame. Number 4, Darian Minsa at Miami after being at Tulane and Duke over the past couple of seasons.
3rd time's the charm.
Number 5, I think he's really good. T-Bone, you remember him? He's the guy that threw like 7 interceptions against Illinois.
Yeah.
And then came out in the second half and looked really good against it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need a half.
I think he's good. I don't think he's a tier 1 quarterback in college football.
Number 5, Julian Sayin. And then to finish out tier 1, Drew Mestamaker at Oklahoma State previously with North Texas. Number 7, Arch Manning, and number 8, Sam Levitt. That's way too high. He should not be in the top 8, in my opinion. But Sam Levitt at LSU, I think will have good numbers because he's playing for Lane Kiffin, and everybody has good numbers for Lane.
Yeah, when you go to play with Lane Kiffin, you get boosted a little bit.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Coming up next, we'll hit the rewind here on 101 ESPN. Hey, if you guys missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com, and the free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. It's all sponsored by
Ferrario Company.
You can always check us out on YouTube as well, youtube.com/101ESPN-STL. That is where you can find the latest edition of the Last Minute Blues podcast. Alex, what can people expect when they go over there and find the latest edition of your show?
So we talked about the Connor McMichael extension, why the Blues went 6 years at 6.75. We talked about expectations for McTavish and McMichael, and Donnie brought up, the concern over the lack of secondary scoring still.
Is it legit in his mind?
A little bit. I think I eased his pain a little bit with it, but it's legit concerning for him. But we also got into the depth at fourth line and the options that they have for the roster spot. So lots of Blues talk in this one. We didn't even have time to get to Jason Robertson.
Really?
Yeah, and I didn't, the numbers came out later, so I couldn't even ish on the number selection by some of the players.
Oh, for the Blues.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the numbers for his contract.
No.
Gotcha.
Just the jersey numbers. Not like 83.
We know, buddy. We know.
I just don't like it.
If you were curious, Alex's full thoughts on the Blues jersey numbers, you can find that on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com, and the free 101 ESPN app. All right, to finish out the show today, let's start by looking back, and then we will look forward. Looking back to last night, the Matthew Liberatore experience just is what it is at this point. He's been one of the 5 worst starters in Major League Baseball for more than a calendar year now, and yesterday it was more of the same. He just has these terrible innings that blow up on him to the point where you have no chance to win the game. In 3 of his last, I believe it's 4 outings, he's allowed at least 5 runs in an individual inning. He allowed 6 in the second against Kansas City, 6 in the fourth against Arizona, and then 5 yesterday in the first inning against the Angels. You can't overcome that. Even if you are an offense that is able to, put up crooked numbers here or there, that's the kind of thing where you just are so deflated that the game is over as soon as it even begins. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened to Liberatore yesterday. It's become a theme for him. His ERA is bloated, and I do think that we are approaching the time where Quinn Matthews should get a shot instead of Matthew Liberatore in your rotation. What did you make of his start yesterday, Alex?
It was deja vu to Eric Fetty last year. And, we looked at it at the beginning of the show. Matthew Liberatore this season is essentially what Eric Fetty was last season prior to the Cardinals moving on from him. And maybe he's got more swing and miss stuff, but the outcome always seems to be the same with Matthew Liberatore of you're going to get an occasional good start, but more times than not, your team is going to be trailing by a lot of runs early, and you're wondering how you can pull yourself back into it. So, and much like last season, when they had another option that you would like to see in Eric Fetty's position, Michael McGreevy, they kept going to Eric Fetty until it was too little too late, and you were behind it chasing down a playoff spot. This feels eerily similar. I don't know what Quinn Matthews looks like at the Major League level. Maybe he struggles like Matthew Liberatore does. But I can tell you that when Matthew Liberatore starts, most of the time it's not going to go the Cardinals' direction, just like Eric Fetty did.
Yeah, he's not the sole reason for why things are spiraling out of control for the Cardinals. But they did have internal options to try and make a change here like they've done in the past. We talked about it yesterday. If the bullpen doesn't figure it out, they got nothing for the bullpen, right? The bullpen's just ish out of luck. If they can't figure things out, they had options for Matthew Liberatore. Yet they continue to throw him out there. They saw a little bit of intrigue over about a 3-start stretch in the month of May, and that's about it. He's basically been this guy for the entirety of his career. You look at it, he's been in the big leagues for 5 years. He's thrown 433 innings, guys. He has a WAR of 0. Not many guys stick around that long in Major League Baseball if they're going to be putting up those kind of numbers. So Cardinals just running him out there at some point. They'll look to replace him, I guess, but I don't know when that will be. He's just not a big league starter, and that doesn't mean he can't be a big leaguer, right? He can adjust to the bullpen role. He can have a renaissance later on in his career if he can figure it out of the bullpen, just like a Seth Lugo did, or I think it was Clay Holmes has done it as well. So we've seen guys do that before, but right now he's just not a big league starter.
Hunter Dobbins gets the start tonight. He's going up against this bad LA Angels team. It feels weird to say they're a bad team because they have beat the hell out of you so far. I would say my expectation is 5 innings, 3 earned runs for Hunter Dobbins, something around that. Do you think that's reasonable?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable against the Angels. And I think the hope would probably be from the Cardinals that he could give them 5 or 6.
Yeah,
I don't think you're getting much more than 5.
Yeah, I don't think they'll want to give him more than 5. I think they'll want to do 5 and dive and get him out of there. But yeah, I think 5 and 3 is what you're hoping for, which, by the way, would have been better than Libby over the last couple starts. But I just digress. But yeah, I think that's the goal.
I wonder what they do in the pen. My guess is they're not going to go to Soriano. That would be 4 out of 6 for him. He's probably down today. Stanek is probably available, but if you go to him, he's unavailable for the next day or two. It's going to be interesting to see the way that they manage this thing in the later innings, because you're going to need multiple innings.
You've been chasing your tail since that Royal series, and there's no fixing it for this bullpen.
O'Brien will probably get a look. I would guess Gastelum gives you at least 1, maybe 2 innings.
Yeah, he should be able to go multiple.
Maybe Swanson goes back out there. You'll definitely see Brule. Brule will be in this game. He might give you 2.
Well,
so maybe you do Gastelum for 1, Brule for 2, and O'Brien.
Well, and the good news is your bullpen
Stanek
gets help tomorrow with Ryan Fernandez.
Yeah.
90 pitch. You know he's got 90 pitches in his arsenal.
Right.
They will make some kind of a roster move tomorrow, most likely. Dobbins will, I would assume, go down, and then it's up to them. They've got 1 open spot on the 40-man roster, so that's not an explanation or an excuse as to not make a different move. They probably have 2 options to come up. I wonder if they go with both Fernandez and my guy, Bryson Motts.
No, man, they got to keep that 40-man for Quinn Matthews soon.
And then you've
He's
got...
on the 40-man.
Oh, is he? I thought he was.
How do you think we've seen him?
What do you mean?
You got to be on the 40-man to be up here at the big league level.
Who?
Quinn Matthews, I said.
Oh, no, I thought you said Moss.
No, Matthews.
That's what he said.
No, I said they got to keep that 40-man roster spot for Quinn Matthews.
They'll keep the 40-man roster spots for Quinn Matthews. No matter what they do, they'll have that available for him.
Oh, I thought Motts had to be put on it.
No, see, this is
He's
what I
already
was
on.
saying. How do you think we've seen him? It's because he's on the 40-man.
Yeah, he's already on.
We just did a little do-si-do, and I finally figured out what we got to.
I thought I was right, and then I had a do-si-do again.
Whenever you want to bring up Quinn Matthews, you could send down Ryan Fernandez. And you add Quinn Matthews to the 40-man.
Yeah, or Bryson Motts.
Yes, it works.
Motts pitched tonight.
We'll
He could
break
go
down
out.
whatever happens in this afternoon's game tomorrow here on BK and Ferrario. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, Last Minute Blues podcast on the YouTube page right now. You can check out the full podcast from today's show as well. YouTube.com/101 ESPN STL or wherever it is that you get your podcast. We'll talk to you tomorrow. The Fast Lane is next year on 101 ESPN.